Islam, everybody.
Islam.
I'd like to request permission of my office to speak.
Permission granted.
Y'all can't see what I wrote? All right, because I wanted to make sure it was cool for the people that's on Skype. Today we're going to talk a bit about commonly known as history, and we're going to talk some war tactics, some war strategy. Because
It's dark now.
we are at war.
We closing. It's good.
I think some of y'all already know that. Some people will find out sooner or later. But some people will find out sooner or later that we are at war. And in war, there's always casualties. Casualties don't always mean death. Sometimes casualties just, you might be missing a limb, broken leg or something like that. But it's always casualties in war. So we're going to get into some war tactics later, but first we're going to get into a bit of our story. Now, just got a question for y'all. Anybody can answer. How many of y'all hate the Albion? Nobody? You do?
Sometimes I do.
Sometimes. Why do you hate the Albion sometimes?
I see all our young brothers and sisters being murdered, and I don't understand why it has to be that way.
So, in other words, you're talking about like police shootings and things like that?
Yes,
Why they murdering our brothers and sisters and walking and getting away with it?
yes.
Anybody
And then
else?
some of our own people helping them get away with it.
What about our own people that do the same thing?
I know they confused and sick in the mind. I know that's a disease of this whole spell. Okay.
Right. So they twist.
I don't sympathize with it. I'm not sympathizing with it saying it's right. I don't agree that it's right, but I understand why it's going on.
Do you hate it?
I don't hate them. I feel they need medicine. They need Taj's medicine.
But you hate the Albion.
They need Taj's medicine.
But so you don't hate the brothers and sisters, but
No,
you
I
hate the
don't hate
Albion.
my brothers and sisters because I know they're sick, mentally ill, okay? And they don't even know that they're ill.
What about the Albion? Is it
The
that he's
Albion, that's
mentally
his
ill?
natural nature. Most of that is his natural nature. It's in the DNA, okay?
Okay.
Because he comes from what my teacher, Taj, has taught me that their red queens, their wombs, he says they developed a sickness. I say they always had a sickness. And their sons are insane because of this sickness. Not all their sons, but many of their sons are very sick and insane. So that's how I see it.
Anybody else see it that way? See it a different way?
But at the same time, I know that there's a balancement because I told you last week, I probably would have bled to death had that Albion not got me to the hospital and took care of me the way he did.
So you still hate it?
I don't hate them. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't.
So it's safe to say that you just dislike some of them, right?
Yes.
Everybody else in that same boat just dislike some of them?
Yes.
Yes. Behavior.
Because we wasn't always taught to love instead of hate. We learned that principle. Some of us have adopted that principle and some of us haven't. Some of us still like F them crackers, F this, F that, F. But then we gotta look at them and we gotta look at us. Right? And we can keep on making excuses saying that we sick. We can keep on making excuses saying that we still suffering from Willie Lynch and suffering from all of that other stuff, right? But the information's been around long enough for us to rise above those, I'm trying to think of a word for it,
Conditioning.
these conditions that we're in. The problem is people don't want change. People fear change. People are afraid of change. And most of the time when people fear something, or people don't know about something they fear, they don't want nothing to do with it. The fear of the unknown will run you ragged and cause you to do nothing in life but just be what you are. That's what a lot of our people have come down to. Right? But the Albion is a spawn of us. I'm gonna read you a story. about the Albion's birth. And I know a lot of people, you hear a lot of people say that we're responsible for them because we created them, right?
Yeah, yes,
Now, when a mother gives birth to a child, and the child is running around in Walmart, grabbing chairs and pulling stuff down, and say, Mom, 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 then that parent is responsible for that child's action, right?
yes,
Now, but when that child grows up into adulthood, is the parent still responsible for that child's action?
Apologize.
When a mother has a child, and the child grows up and he's unruly and running around, tearing stuff off the shelves in Walmart, acting crazy and making a bunch of noise, the mother is responsible for that child's actions. Right?
Actually,
Now, when that child grows to adulthood, is the mother still responsible for that child's actions?
no.
All right. Right, we did spawn that Albion. Right, I'll read the story to you in a second. But when Albion came out the cage, I'm sorry, the cave. Someone probably should be. I'm sorry, the cave. He was unruly. And you'll hear in the story that he got that way and wasn't controlled. And even to this day, Albion is not controlled. Even some of our people are not controlled. Right? Deal with him, I can't. All right. All right. Islam,
Can you hear me when I interrupt you?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to, all right.
All right. A lot of our children are unruly, right?
yes.
What do we do about it? What have we done about it? Nothing. That's why they run around here cursing in front of adults. That's why they run around here doing the things that they do, because we can't even control the children that you actually give birth to. So how we expect to control that outbreak after all these thousands of years and him running around and doing what he wants to do and acting crazy? We can't. We can't. And when you can't control somebody, something has to happen, right? Y'all gonna talk to me? I'm
Yeah,
talking.
divine, wait a minute.
Something has to happen, right?
Right,
So what occurs?
divine law governs all events.
Divine law governs all events, right?
Law governs all events, but
Now, you say divine law governs all events, right? I wanna give
let
you
me
an
qualify
example.
that. Let me qualify that. Law governs all events, all right?
What law? Universal law?
Yep.
Divine law. Right?
All right.
Now, I want to give you an example. If God, tell you what, come here. So, I'm gonna let you be God. He's God, right? And I'm the devil, right? Now, you're mad at me, right? Now, his law is what law? Divine law, right? Not good. Divine law, right?
Right.
And I know devil, and I'm the devil. My law is what law? Who? Man-made. I ask the question again.
It's still law.
If he's, what law? It's still divine law, right? It's how I use it, right? So he's God, and y'all just said that his law was good, right? That's what y'all assumed, that his law was good. And I said I was the devil, so you automatically assume that my law is bad, right? But it's divine law. So when you say divine law governs all things, you're right. But what divine law governs all things? Just because he got them at the table and they say, all right, we're going after the rule. We're going to follow the rules law, right? That's divine law. And then everything, Miss Phyllis and the young lady sitting there, they want to follow me. It's still divine law, right? Even if they follow the rule, and the rule's divine law is what they call good law, it's how they use it and how they apply it. So even though divine law governs everything, it doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome is going to be a good outcome.
Right.
So you say divine law good. You say divine law governs everything, but don't necessarily mean because divine law governs it that the outcome is going to be good. That's war.
But it's still a learning process no matter what. It's to be learned.
What's to be divine law?
Yeah.
You're right. But what I'm saying is it's yin and yang. It's ebb and flow. It don't necessarily, just because divine law is present doesn't mean that the outcome is going to be good. So what I'm saying is, if we can't control the Albion, and he's our spawn, then something has to happen. If you can't control the thing, something has to happen. So what's that thing?
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Right? And that's what everybody keeps saying.
No.
We got, I'm not saying it. I'm saying that's what everybody is saying.
Well, you
So-
have to.
So
This is the way it
now,
goes.
that's the way it goes. When something is unruly, you gotta get rid of it, right?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
Yes.
so then what?
You
No.
got a
So
bug
then
or a
what?
virus, you get rid of the virus. You don't let it keep
But-
spawning
but-
from people to people.
But a virus is part of your DNA, so, you know, you can't change what is in your DNA, okay?
Virus-
Our
the
DNA
virus-
changes all the time.
Big one?
No, let's be clear. The virus ain't a part of your DNA. The
Yes,
virus,
it is.
The virus is, and so we born with all of them.
Viruses, yes.
No,
With
we're
a
not.
virus.
We're not. We're not born with those diseases. European is. We are
All
not.
right. Let's not get sidetracked from the subject.
All right, go
The
ahead.
question I'm asking is this: when something is wrong and something can't be controlled, then something has to happen, right?
Yeah, you change it. You
have to
change.
it.
If you can't control it, then something has to happen. Either you get rid of it, you change it, something has to happen. That's the only simple question I'm asking.
All right, go by the principle, matter can not neither be created nor destroyed. So how can you destroy something that, you know, you can't,
I'm not talking about destruction.
what you're saying, kill it or get rid of it?
I say get rid of it. I didn't say kill it. Now, 1 second, one more.
You have to
I wanted to have an answer to that. I thought that we would change ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
The question that I asked was, what has to happen? Right? Something has to happen. Omar said, what should happen is we change ourselves. Now, it was a simple question, right? That was a simple answer. Now, for all of y'all who've read all of the prophets' work, the 101s, oral statements, the Circle 7 Holy Quran, and all of that other stuff, nobody thought of that. You can't change him, and you can't get rid of him. It just ain't gonna happen. Logistically, you can't get rid of him. You don't have what's necessary to get rid of him.
But
They,
nigga,
logistically, they don't have what they need to get rid of you, or else you'd be gone already. They've been trying for thousands of years. You'd be gone already, right? So what has to happen is you have to change. That's why we study what we study. That's why we do what we do. Because we have to change here, and we have to change here. That's why the prophet taught us to love instead of hate. So when you talk about getting rid of stuff, I'll be honest, my heart was full of hate for years. Hate, anger, frustration, the whole nine. And it's a process to slowly get it out. You can't do it overnight. If one of y'all walk past here and step on my foot, I might curse. Might want to grab you by the back of your neck, but I might refrain from doing it because I'm up here. For some reason, I refrain up here. I mean, we was just laughing the other day when Sabrina was telling everybody if his lips start shaking. I don't know if y'all ever seen that, but it's been a few times in here where people done got me to this point. And I just stand here and I just breathe. But I really be wanting to grab them by their neck. But that's the process of change. A lot of people are afraid of change because change is unknown. We can't control that, I'll be honest. And half the times, we can't control ourselves. So in order to acquire that, in order to acquire what it is we need to acquire, peace of mind or whatever you want to call it, we need change. What's his name? Obama, President Obama, he talked change when he first came around, I think.
Yes.
And he switched it to hope. Wasn't that change we can depend on or something like
Yeah,
that?
change.
Right? And his philosophy wasn't wrong, just the principles. Now he did quite a bit for you, right? But he just couldn't come out right and say, here, this is for you. It's time for y'all to wake up. When he was on Tom Joyner, when he first got elected, and Tom Joyner excitedly said, we finally have a black president. Which one of those? Thank you. We finally have a black president. Any of y'all know what Barack Obama said to Tom Joyner?
He's the president for everybody.
It ain't what he said. What did he say, bro? What did he say?
Not black.
He said, don't call me black. I'm not black. And people lost their damn minds. Right? People lost their minds. You know why? Because they can't control one thing. Emotions. When you can't control your emotions, you already lost. That'd be anger, that'd be joy, that'd be happiness, that'd be fear, that'd be whatever. I'm using the wrong marker again. So I wrote emotion and change on the board. When you can't control your emotions, you already lost. The fight is over. The fight is over. When we go into the art of war, we'll cover that more, but if you can't control your emotions, the fight is over. We got to learn to control our emotions. When we control our emotions, then we can start to change the way we think. Because we won't get so mad. Like the mother here. At first she was like, I hate them cracks. Make me sick. And then she said, hey, the dude picked me up and kept me from bleeding to death. I don't hate them so much. Right? But when she got the emotions under control, then she realized that she doesn't really hate it. She just don't like some of them. The fact is, I don't like some of y'all. Not y'all in here personally, I mean some of our people. I mean, it's the truth, because some of us are just as bad as them Albions. Everybody mad at these Albions. Yeah, these guys are shooting our boys up, but our boys are shooting our boys up too. Ain't nobody fussing at it. In fact, I was on the phone with her 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, and I was riding down the street. I seen this young boy take a bottle of juice or whatever it was he had in his hand and walk past the trash can and just sit down in the middle of the street. I hit the brakes. Yo, hey man, come here. He picked it up and he put it in the trash. I said, listen, bro, you live around here? He said, no. I said, well, why you put trash in front of somebody's house? He said, I said, if that was your house and I walked by and I put that bottle there, you'd be upset, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, pick it up. It's a trash can right there. He looked at me for a minute. He said, and then he put it in the trash. Now, what did that do?
You got that look in your eyes. You got that look in your eyes.
What did it do?
You change his thought pattern.
Change his thought pattern, just like that. Now, the next time he gets ready to put something on the ground,
Think about it.
you know what I'm saying? But he'll stop and he'll think about it, and maybe he'll throw it in the trash, right? Go ahead, bro.
You also show him that you care.
Thank you. Is that what I told you? Did I tell you that? You don't remember, she forgot. She probably was busy random. But I showed him that somebody does care, right? Because probably at home, nobody cares. And nobody else on the street said nothing to him, but somebody showed him that they care. They care about him. They care about the street. I don't live in Westbrook. I'm domiciled down there. I just didn't want to see him put him on the street. I don't want, because that's a bad habit. Now, bad habits can be broken. Sometimes we just need a little nudge, right? So I showed him that I care. So possibly, even though he had certain emotions because he frowned his face up, and he probably wanted to say, man, flip him, I ain't picking up nothing. He controlled it right now. He got control of them emotions. And he listened to what I said. And even though he smacked his teeth, he picked it up. Changed his thought pattern just like that. Well, we can control our emotions. I'm gonna do a little reading. We're gonna do a bit of reading today. Just so y'all know, if anything strikes you, anything you need me to repeat, anything you want to build on as I'm reading, just stop me, and then we'll get into it. As always, like I say, pay attention to what's said. Pay attention to words, and pay attention to logic. This is the story of Yacub. I did what? Hey, listen. Listen. How many people seen Planet of the Apes? They all the same. They all the same. The hit, what's that, Dr. Monroe's album? Any of y'all saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The island of Dr.
Album of Dr. Monroe. I just recently saw that a little while ago. Just like the rest of Hollywood, the brothers coming in with the food too, y'all. In the back setting up shop. What's up, Yacub? Islam, Yacub.
Islam.
Just like the rest of Hollywood and the island of Dr. Moreau, and also in the Planet of the Apes, they're telling you Yacub's story. They ain't going to come out and tell you it's Yacub's story. They're just going to entertain you and show you this movie. Planet of the Apes, like the Planet of the Apes that come out now, you forget about all the logic and you just being entertained now. Because now these chimps is running around, they hustling, they strolling around the street, they got AK-47s and all kinds. So you're just being entertained, right? Just like all the rest of these movies, and you missing the whole point. Now, anybody know who Charles Darwin is?
Yeah.
Somebody tell me about him, please. Theory of evolution. What is the theory of evolution?
Strong survive.
The strong survive?
Yeah, that's what it is.
The strong survive?
The men came from apes.
That men came from apes, came from monkeys. They evolved from, okay, right? So, the age-old question is this. What got me suspended in 9th grade, Ms. Hammond. So if you ever see some of these videos, I remember you suspended me over this nonsense. We was talking the theory of evolution. And I just simply asked, if people came from apes, then why don't people still come from apes? Why do apes bear apes and people bear people? And I was disruptive. I was rude and disrespectful. Off to Mr. Kenny's office. 5 days, y'all. In suspension. When I told my pop why I was suspended, it wasn't gonna happen. Right back to school the next day. I asked him a question, but it was because I'm going against whatever, the curriculum, or going against her. So cool. And the teacher felt uncomfortable. So the story of evolution says this, that man slowly came from apes. He went from walking on all fours to eventually standing upright and walking and talking the way you do. What the problem is chimpanzees, it's gorillas, it's monkeys, it's orangutans, all these different apes, and all these different people. Now, a lot of people in my family live to be old age. My great-grandmother was 98. She transitioned a couple years ago. My great-grandfather was 100. My other great-grandfather was in his 90s as well. And out of all the stories that they told us, they never told us no stories about seeing no monkeys turn into no children. So when it stopped? When did it stop? It never started? Let's read the history of Yacub. If y'all haven't seen Dr. Moreau's Island, check it out. The history of Yacub. Knowledge is power. Being without it is most detrimental to oneself. Wisdom is the creator herself. And those who despise wisdom. Oh yeah, I apologize. Y'all don't have to. So just follow along. I apologize. I didn't print this. I apologize. So just follow along with me. I'm sorry. I printed out some other stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. And in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7 of the Christian Bible, furthermore, one should aspire to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. Proverbs 1 and 2. With these thoughts, bear in mind that the history of the Moorish nation and all of its related subjects have not been taught since 1863 here in North America. They have been eliminated from public libraries and the curriculum of all institutions of higher learning, high schools, colleges, and universities of the USA, and abroad of the European society. And unfortunately, European society has educated the quote-unquote Negroes to believe that their forefathers were brought from Africa to the USA, to the Americas, as Negro slaves. Now, before we move past that, how many of y'all really got the truth about the whole slave history? How many of y'all believe that we were brought here on ships?
Used to. Used to believe that.
Well, I just want to be clear, because for whoever don't understand it, we'll clear it up. In fact, we'll just clear it up for people who may see the video who don't really have the clear understanding of it. Anybody know how long it took to make a voyage from Spain or Portugal to the west coast of Africa to the Caribbean?
Average,
Whoever said it.
average 3.5 months.
Average 3.5 months, right? So that's to go from, if I get my artist on.
Uh-oh.
So that's to go from Europe. Let's go to Africa. And we gonna go down into the Caribbean, right? Because they wasn't coming up to us yet. Get my artist on. So here's Portugal and Spain, right on the tip of Europe. So they left there, they went down to the west coast of Africa, right? And they racked up some people, put them on ships. And they laid them in all these crazy formations all on the bottom of the ship, right? With no room for them to defecate, no room for them to urine, no room for them to eat, no room for them to stretch and move. And any living creature that lies dormant for 3 months will die. Now it can be hot, it can be cold, you can pick whichever temperature you want. Lay dormant for 3 months, will die. So all right, they let them out and they flood them and all that stuff. So here they come right here, right? So let's just say that's 1 month. Then they got the voyage all the way down to the Caribbean. So let's just say that's 2 months. Let's give them 3 months, right? Every 3 months, a national phenomenon occurs. What is it? A natural phenomenon occurs. What is it?
Seasons
Seasons change. From winter to summer to spring to fall. Now, every May, another phenomenon occurs naturally. What is that? It's a specific season.
Vernal equinox.
Not the vernal equinox. It's a
Next.
specific season. Dealing with the weather.
Hurricane season.
Hurricane season starts in May. Right? So we'll put May right here. Hurricane season lasts until when?
November.
November. We'll put November over here in the Caribbean. Now, how many months is that? There's more than 6. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 7 months. Right? Now we already established it takes 3 months to make that voyage. Where do hurricanes start?
Africa.
West coast of Africa. Which path do they travel? Right along that Atlantic Ocean, right down into the Caribbean, up into the Gulf of Mexico, around Florida, and right up the East Coast. Now, how the hell was they getting all them ships over here? They told y'all there was 12 million people go from Africa to the Americas. How? From the first one supposedly in 1619 until about 1835. How did they get 12 million people here? 100 people to 200 people per ship. And then they told you that some of them died, they told you that some of them jumped, and they told you that they killed some of them. How did they get 12 million people in that short period of time? Because for them 7 months, they wasn't making too many voyages. What's going on, man?
Not only that, there was only 3 companies hauling, so-called hauling it, between the so-called slave trade. And the borders are along the ports anyway, so where did they stop and get water anyway? It was just impossible for them to move that many people. It's just impossible.
Well, even better. Y'all know how heavy water is,
Right,
Buoyant.
right?
right.
Now, you toting 100 people as cargo, and let's just say it's 15 of y'all on the ship for 3 months. Y'all need a lot of water to drink. You can't carry that much water. The Navy don't even carry water. The Navy filters water from the ocean to take showers and drink. Right? So logistically, it just don't make sense.
Plus, one other thing, they usually travel on the Canary Current or the Verde Current. There's 2 places they would have put their ships in the water for the current to help them bring them back across, and that's only at a certain time of the year.
Right. The same path the hurricanes take.
Right.
The same path those hurricanes take. The same 2 currents, the same 2 currents created by the hurricanes. Right? Because that's the natural path. We can't change that.
Yeah.
They can move as many places they want. They ain't gonna change that. Right? So it wasn't logistically possible for that slave story to be the way that we was taught it was. Social engineering. This is the biggest quote-unquote white lie the world has ever known, and is the basic reason why whenever truth appears among so-called blacks, the majority will flee from the laden with fear, jealousy, hatred, and violence. For you see, the blacks of North America believe that they haven't told the truth all along, but they have not. So when truth appears, they react negatively. As a matter of fact, they will not believe anything unless it comes out of the European man's mouth. The Europeans' educational institutions and its form of publications. And the sad reality of it is that's the truth. Because I can sit here and tell everybody everything I want. But if George Bush actually stood up and read this, then everybody would be like, well, damn, if George Bush is saying it, then it must be true. But what the hell I got about it? This is all the result of a lack of knowledge of truth. Paradoxically, though, this great truth is the great body that will make them free. Again, referring to the Christian Bible, in which blacks believe, St. Paul says, prove all things. Hold fast to that which is good. The following evidence shall be proof of the good to which the Negroes should hold fast. Negroes. The original ancient North, Central, and South Africa is today known as North, Central, and South America. They comprise the cradle of humanity and civilization and are also the lands of the Moabite Moorish nation. Y'all forgive me, I gotta share something with y'all right quick. So we didn't hear clear that this is the Moorish Moabite nation, right? I went to see an acupuncturist the other day, right? And you know, we talking about some things, and you know, he said, well, what do you do? So when I said to him that I teach about nationality, you know, law, civics, you know, life principles. When I said nationality, his face, he was like, I said, for what? He was confused and puzzled, right? Now, anybody know why? Huh? What was his nationality? Taiwanese.
What was it?
Taiwanese.
He wasn't confused.
No, he was confused as to why I was teaching about nationality. But why?
Because they're groomed and told not to have that kind of discussion with you when they come. And he's confused that your teaching is less more knowing.
He was born knowing it. He gonna die knowing. Right? So even if it is like the Grand Chief said, that he's taught not to discuss it. Just the mention of it is like, kind of like, who teaches, who got time to teach about that? It's only us that's confused about nationality. He knows this. He already knows. Taiwanese is not a question. Right? So then he said, it's not really necessary to teach that. So then I went a little further and I said, listen, well, the majority of the people you know that look like me, they refer to themselves as black, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, where's black? And he started smirking.
Yeah.
I said, you ever seen a black flag? Well, then it's a need.
Yeah.
It's a need. You know, we keep driving on nationality. We can talk about other stuff. Credit, law, science, we can talk about other stuff, but nationality. He was puzzled as to why, or he appeared to be puzzled, but that's just simply because he knows this, and he's like, damn, you don't know yours? I don't know if any of y'all travel internationally, but they don't call us black outside.
What do they call us?
What do they call us? Depending on where you are. When I was in Europe all the times I was there, they wait to hear your tongue. And when they hear your tongue, then they decipher. Or you must be American because of your tongue. Or they say, oh, you must be African because of your tongue. But they'll never say that black man, and they'll never say that they're white.
But would they ever say you're a Moor?
Nobody ever called me a Moor. Nobody ever called me Moor. But then again, I did spend a lot of time up in them villages where they might have. Nobody ever called me a Moor. They never called me black either. I'll probably take that. Not being called black, but being called American. Because they're referring to my nationality, whether they know it or not. They ain't call me black. I'm good with that. This is originally the land of our real forefathers, and there is no traditional history which can go beyond this. Our Moorish ancestors descended from the dark-skinned Moabite nation, and we ourselves are the direct descendants of the Moorish nation. What our forefathers were, we are today, without a doubt. And the fact remains that our inherited nationality is still Moorish, not Negro, or colored, or black, or African American, or whatever else they want to call us. At this point, you are advised to endeavor to govern your emotions with an open mind. The origin of the name Negro, or Negro, is the basic reason why blacks, I'm sorry, this is what the document says, so forgive me if I'm just reading, quote unquote blacks, have been both feared and hated so badly by the red pale-skinned people of the European society in the USA. We are aware of the fact that the category of astrology, global geography, and the history of the Moorish nation will conflict with 9 out of every 10 people in the USA, especially those often referred to as Negroes, owing to their Christian education. How many of y'all got Christian education?
Growing up, yeah.
No, well, I mean, you still got it. You just don't. The rest of y'all ain't had to go to church.
Oh, yeah.
Catholic church. I had Catholic
Y'all
church.
just stop sitting here acting like we strangers and acting like y'all embarrassed to put your hands up. I'm not talking Greek or something. They have been too deeply instilled with emotional, religious doctrines and distorted history written by prejudiced European educators during the past 100 years. This group emotionally relies upon that which they have been taught to believe. That word is strong. When I say pay attention to words, that word believe is strong, because that word believe and belief is what's got us so twisted today. When I was putting the stuff in the car to come to class today, Jehovah's Witnesses was coming down the block. Right? So, normally you see it, you be. They go. They come up. I don't do that no more. I stopped doing that when I started learning some stuff. Right? I embrace conversation with it. What I mean, what's the point of running and rebelling? And it's not to start an argument. It's just to have a conversation with them. Right? But today I didn't have time to have a conversation, so she offered me a watchtower, and she told me that the watchtower that she gave me, they was talking about why Jehovah's Witnesses don't like to say God. Because God is a title, right? And that God has a name. And they say his name is what?
Jehovah.
Jehovah, right? So she said, do you believe in Jehovah? What y'all think I said?
No.
You told her it was a cult. And you
I didn't say it was a cult. I didn't say it was a cult. I simply told her no. And she said, well, will you promise to read what I give you? She said, because Jehovah gave his only begotten son, and yada, 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 yada. Now, just honoring the lady, honoring the mother, and being respectful, I took, and I told her I'll read it. Now, the fact is, I will read it, and I'm going to read it just so I can dissect it. Right? So, the point that I'm making is this. Don't shy away from it, and don't be confrontational. We're going to hit on that when we talk about war. Don't be confrontational. Take it and engage in conversation. Now, if you have the opportunity, which if I had the opportunity today, then I would have dropped some information on it. But I didn't. It's not.
In a situation like that, I think it's good to have a even exchange. She give you something to read, you give her something to read. You know what I'm saying? And then if they have a problem with what you're giving them, right, say, well, I can read what you're giving me, there's no problem. It's just information.
Absolutely. Now, that's normally what I would want to do. So the last time that they knocked on the door, and I came to the door smiling. In fact, I seen them coming down the street. So I left. I don't usually sit in the house with the door open too much. But I left the door open, so that way they know somebody's home, right? And I sat on the step, and I done it a couple times. I engaged with them, right? And they start going in, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, peaches don't really grow on pear trees. I know that's what they told us, but the truth is, peaches grow on peach trees. Pears grow pear trees. And they sitting there like, but I believe, word believe. When you believe something, you believe it because you don't know it to be true.
That's right. Well, you gotta believe.
And that word believe is stronger. It's stronger in some people than the bonds that they have with their own friends and family. Because if you don't believe how I believe,
You're a kafir.
deuces. That's that word believe. I gotta find where I was at. Facts and testimony are not the foundation of their faith, except in very rare cases. These people accept without question the beliefs of those among whom they are born and reared, and will disbelieve even the evidences of their senses rather than abandon the impractical, emotional, religious beliefs which have grown in them. Now, it says here that people believe the beliefs, or they are part of the beliefs of people where they are raised. So, most people who grow up in a certain area, let's just say you grew up in Kuwait, after a few generations, your family will probably be what they call Muslims. And if you were reared in India, you'd probably be Hindustani. Follow the Hindu religion. In China, Buddhist. In Europe, United States, Christianity. Because most people believe what the people around them believe, what the people in the nation believe. Today, religious worshipers have proven to the entire world that they would rather resort to emotional, human hatred and fight, suffer, and die over the name of a mystical God and religion than reasonably agree with the simplified and applied truth. While reading these notes, you are advised to endeavor to be guided by common, sound reasoning rather than by emotions, which are the result of your traditional belief in the doctrines of religion. Y'all ain't going to suffer from that. I'm just reading what it says. We are aware of the fact that the illustration of the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac, the history of the Moabite nation, and the history of the Franciscan Anglo-Saxon nations are confusing to the reader, owing limited education of the majority of the masses. Nevertheless, the true history is that the Moorish nation rose out of corruption of the Moabite nation of this hemisphere over 1,371 years ago, calculated from 1951. The Franciscan nations rose out of the corruption of the Moorish nations of this hemisphere in 1863, the era of the Union. The only true history during the past 1,300 years is that of the Moorish nation. The Edenic Garden. In the year 49,000 BC, Yacub produced the red-skinned people with the animalistic experimentation of 12 Moabite women and the Negro, Yabero, Araba chimpanzee, which resulted in the name Negro. Now, y'all clear on what I just read?
Yeah.
I'll read it again. In the year 49,000 BC, Yacub produced the red-skinned people with the animalistic experimentation of 12 Moabite women and the Negro, Yabero, Araba chimpanzee, which resulted in the name Negro. Y'all saw Planet of the Apes, and some of y'all saw the Island of Dr. Moreau. That's the whole movie in that first paragraph. But what they didn't tell you is that was the birth of the European. They told you that was the birth of a super monkey. A monkey that could stand upright, that could talk, if talk. That was way stronger than any of you. Now, let's read some more about the experiment. Now, that's what the Planet of the Apes told you, right?
Yeah.
And even Dr. Island of Dr. Moreau. The Moabite masters studied man as a creative being. Their motto was, man, know thyself, and thou wilt know the universe and the gods. Man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. Y'all heard that plenty of times before. He is the epitome of all worlds and all powers. He is the focusing and condensing point of the countless electromagnetic currents which, in energizing, become what may be called the living, conscious, vital electricity of the incredible voltage, but hardly comparable to the form of electricity known to physicists. The magical creative power variously symbolized in the Bible, and in one place is mentioned as the bush that burned with fire but was not consumed. That's Exodus 3:2. You Acts 7 and 30. This powerful force, however, is a double-edged sword that cuts both ways.
Sound like a soap flex.
I'm going to read that again, because I want y'all to remember that. This powerful force, however, is a double-edged sword that cuts in both ways. Remember I said, it exalts or degrades, improves or destroys, depending on the conditions. If activated unnaturally, without the power to control it, will give its deadly sting to him and whom it was so unwisely weak. Y'all listen?
Yes?
Okay. For example, some people say that this creative force was unnaturally activated by Yacub when he created the red man because Yacub did not have 100% control over each of his subjects. As a result, the creation multiplied beyond any kind of control, leading to the great sting of the Asiatic Moorish nation around the world, and especially to Moors in North America. This is why some people call Yacub the devil. Now, when I asked Nuru to come up here, and I said that he was the good guy, he was God, and I was the devil, I was the bad guy, we clarified that he operates on divine nature and divine law, and so do I. The difference is how we use it. Now, they called him the devil, but was he doing something evil? In
No.
your opinion, I'm just asking. Was him trying to create another race? Was he doing something evil?
No.
He's experimenting.
He was experimenting, which they do every day. Right? Yucatan, Mexico, is the ancient land of Judah, Ham, Mu, the Cushite, and the Chaldean nations, and the Garden of Eden, all of which were established by Yacub Israel, the last great genius and scientist of the Moabite nation. Also located here is the Great Pyramid University of the original ancient Central Africa. This Pyramid University is 24,000 years old and is the oldest university in the world. Naturally, it was built by the master mason craftsmen of the Moabite nation. It contains geometry, Latin, algebra, calculus, trigonometry, calculations of the moon, sun, and 7 planets of the zodiac constitution law of the universe concerning the cycles of evolution of both man and the universe. How many of y'all ever Googled pyramids in South America or Central America?
Peace, Mark.
It's
Can
not.
I ask you, Ken, what was the name of the university? Where was it again?
Pyramid University, Yucatan. The Yucatan is in Mexico. The Yucatan Peninsula is in Mexico.
Yucatan Peninsula. And what was the name of the university?
Pyramid University.
Peace.
Any of y'all ever Google pyramids in Central or South America?
Not really.
None? So the only pyramid, y'all just being honest, the only pyramids y'all know about is the Giza Strip?
No,
No.
no.
Well, what other pyramids you talking about?
The one in Mexico.
I just asked if you said, if you
I ain't never
Googled
Googled it, but I mean, Google, there's
it.
other
So what
ways.
y'all know about that pyramid in Mexico?
Yes.
So y'all don't know about the pyramids all over Mexico, not just the Yucatan. In Mexico City and all over Mexico. Y'all don't know about the pyramids in Peru. Y'all don't know about the pyramids in Colombia and
In North
Brazil.
America,
In North America, y'all.
China.
China.
So it's safe to say, y'all know about a few of them, but you never just Googled and really seen how many.
No, not
Yeah,
per se.
check it out.
Not per se.
Right? What about the pyramids right here in
Yeah.
North America?
Yeah,
Some of them.
It's still 7 in this city.
right.
It's still 7 in the city.
Some on the ocean.
We talking about on the land, which we can see. Some of them, what's under the ocean, we ain't even going to stress ourselves with that. But I'm talking about what we can see.
Right, the art museum.
Y'all know about the mountain civilization in Louisiana?
Yes.
Poverty Point Park?
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all scaring me. Y'all making me think y'all ain't really studying. Y'all should know this stuff should just pique your curiosity. And you should want it because they only tell you about the Giza Strip, right? Because they want you to connect with the Giza Strip. They want you to connect with Egypt. They want you to listen to the chematologists and these Egyptologists and everybody, and they only want you to stay there, right? But the pyramids in Peru are older than the pyramids on the Giza Strip. We ain't even want to talk about the pyramid of Kukulkan in Mexico, in Chichen Itza, older than the pyramids on the Giza Strip, right? But they keep telling you about Egypt. They keep telling you about that because that was what? That was you at your zenith. That's what they told you, right? Now, if that was you at your zenith, then how the hell is it that in a land that they call Nubia, that's under 250 feet of water, you got more pyramids, you got more temples, and you got more artifacts than you got in Egypt? If Egypt was the zenith, how was all of that stuff there? And why is it underwater?
Aswan Dam, the dam.
Right? Because of the Aswan Dam. Right? Because they want you to disconnect. They ain't just show up to Egypt and start doing that. Ain't nobody that brilliant to just wake up and start using electricity and birth control and surgeries and all that type of stuff and build the pyramids out of nowhere. It ain't possible. You gotta be willing to want to go back. If you don't know your history, forget about your future. So,
The thing that I found out that the history that we don't know is that civilization started in the west, went to the east.
I ain't say it again, please.
The history that we don't know, that I found out right, is that civilization started in the west, went to the east. The oldest pyramids are in this part of the world. The new ones are in the east.
So, Canaan man who couldn't hear what he said civilization started in the west and went to the east. But that's proven by these artifacts. That's proven by these artifacts. But if you don't take the time to do that research and take that time to possibly go see some of this stuff, you won't know. You'll keep on running to Egypt. I know when I first met Abdullah Bey, I gotta go to Egypt. I gotta go to Egypt. And Abdullah would just sit there and he'd just look at me and be like, "Where you want to run over there when you got all of this history right here?" But that's because I was unaware, right? And he opened my eyes and showed me a lot. So I went to Poverty Point Park. So I went to the pyramids in Mexico. We're gonna go to the pyramids in Peru. We're gonna touch this stuff. We're gonna go down to the Amexem and hopefully we can put together a trip so we can go and touch the Amexem. See, it's one thing to see a picture, right? But you people, this brother sitting right here. Y'all, I was gonna get everybody to come look at you, man. We'll do that. I met this brother in Canaan land earlier in the month, right? So I was walking out the door, and I went to shake his hand, and I said, "What's up, man? I'm SetenRa Bey." Y'all know what he said? "Damn, man, what you was doing, man." Right? Now the thing was this: he had only seen me on Skype, and he had only seen me on video, but now I'm standing in his face. So now we embrace. And then when I seen him last weekend, we embraced again, right? So now it's a different bonding relationship that we share now. It's not just me looking at some guy on the screen that I don't know, and him looking at some guy on the screen that he don't know. The difference is that we embrace, we touch. Now when we go down here and see these pyramids, right? And you go walk up them steps, and you go inside, and you like, dang. And you standing up there, and you looking over all this vast land where your ancestors were. You see these ruins and all these buildings. You see all of this magnificent stuff that they built. It do something to you, right? Just to be able to touch it. Just like Todd's sitting over there right now, and there's people all over the place would like to come shake his hand, right? Yeah, and here, you get to sit in the room and hang out. So you take it for granted because he's sitting there. Just like everybody take for granted all of this stuff that's sitting around and you just look at the pictures. You get a different appreciation for stuff when you touch it. Somebody was going to say something, Tyler, you had
Yeah, I want to. Go ahead, the other one once. You hear the statement now that they say now the sun rises in the east.
Mm-hmm.
So that had to mean that it was actually rising in the west at one time.
Well, you know that history, so we'll give it to him right fast. You know that story. Some people don't. I'm about to get my artist on again.
Uh-oh.
Right, so that's the globe, right? Now they told you it was like this. That's the way they told you it is, right?
Yes.
All right, so now what if I told you it was like this?
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Some people would call me crazy.
No, it looks
Oh man, you tripping. You ain't making no sense. You ain't doing this, you ain't doing that. But you got that bowl up there. Sun, yeah. Right? Now it's time for me to get my artist. Draw this stuff upside down. Well, right? So y'all got these land masses. That's Europe. That's North America. That's Africa. That's Australia. Right? Those lands that are the hottest, Africa, South America, Australia, if it was the way that they told us, flip back that way, they would be much further away from the sun, right? Why it's so hot there all the time?
Yep.
Now Europe is much further north than North America. If you look at the globe, you'll see that. Europe sits higher than the north, but it's always cold. They get a month and a half of summertime. Now the best part about summertime, it don't get dark till about 10 o'clock. But they sit higher in the north, so why is it so cold? And then if you take that picture and just flip it, then it makes sense. So like Mfundishi told us a couple years ago, it was backwards, upside down, and inside out.
The heat's not coming from the sun anyway. The sun's not hot. So that's not where we're getting our heat.
Where you get heat from?
The heat's coming from the different rays of the planet. When you see a shuttle come back in from space,
Mm-hmm.
you see it catching fire and how it burns coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the heat is. The heat's in the rays around the earth. The sun is not. I was in a conversation with Delbert Blair. The sun is not hot. They fooled us, man. And it turned my head around when he explained it to me.
I never heard that philosophy or that breakdown.
Yeah.
The sun not being
No,
hot.
it's not hot.
Now,
Because they actually
It's just-
see spaceships back up to the sun and take energy from the sun.
they ain't send no ships out to no sun.
No, I'm telling you what he has explained through
I
physics.
understand.
The sun is not hot.
I understand what you're saying, he said. Now, if we take that sun away, right, and it becomes nighttime,
Right,
what happens? It cools off,
right,
right? And when the sun comes back up, then what happens?
right.
It warms back up. So
It is-
even if the rays were coming through some layers in the Earth's ozone or the Earth's outer atmosphere, the heat is still coming from the sun. Because when the moon is out, there's no heat.
Brother, I hear you, but I'm telling you, we're not getting the heat from the sun.
Okay. Anybody else ever heard it? I'm not now.
No, I'm
It's
just
not your
saying,
philosophy.
I had to talk to this brother because it turned my head.
I understand that it's not your philosophy that is held with legs. But me, I've been around 1,001 scholars. I ain't never heard it.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I've
Right.
really heard it.
Now-
He's right. I've talked to people, and they said he's right.
listen,
Well, I'm just saying.
everybody's perspective is their own. If that's what you think, then hey, so be it.
Here's what I think.
Well, if that's what you know,
It's a philosophy of what it is. See, we've been lied to so much.
what's a philosophy?
What?
Somebody tell me what a philosophy is. Come on, man, stop with this. Somebody tell me what a philosophy is. Y'all know what a philosophy is.
Theory.
A theory. It's a theory. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing or disagreeing with you.
I don't
I'm
know.
disagreeing and arguing with this theory.
Yeah. I know.
Because when the sun is out, you got heat. When the sun is not out, you have no heat. You can go in the desert, it'd be 152 degrees while that sun is cooking. When that sun goes away, it go down to 50 degrees. The same day. So,
I'm gonna help you out a little bit on that. When the sun, the rays that are coming from the sun, until it hit our atmosphere,
mhm.
our 7 layers, it broke down etherically, and that's why you have 7 spheres out there, which gives you 7 colors. The light is actually black light, but when it's broken down through the spheres etherically, then it shows itself as different colors. So this is why we get light when there's no light out in space. Only when it comes through I'm not talking about the heat, I'm talking about the rays. When it comes through the 7 spheres is when it broke down etherically and it appears like light is here. When it's only an illusion because that light is black light outside of the prism. And it manifests as black until it hits those rays, hit the outer spheres, the 7 spheres, and which gives you your 7 colors, almost like 7 notes.
I'm not in
And the
disagreement.
8th one is back to the first one.
I'm not in disagreement with that.
Okay, good.
I'm not in disagreement with that.
That's why I was always trying to.
But what I am in disagreement with is the theory that we don't get heat from the sun.
Yeah, we do get the rays are the heat.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm trying to relay.
Right.
I just want you to understand that it's not you that I'm disagreeing with. It's just his theory. It's not.
We got to remember that true east is 189 degrees Virgo coming through the Gulf, right where the Liberty is planted in the water, and just to the west side of Florida. It's true east, 189 degrees Virgo.
Pick back up on this reading as soon as I figure out what I was at. All Bible prophecy was handed down by Mur Lu Aken El, the last high priest and a prophet of the Moabite nation of ancient Mexico. Also, he passed it on to his son, excuse me, Yacub Kauskasus Kushitis, also known as the Big Head Scientist. All of the ancient wisdom of the family's priestly clan. Baby's all right. You gotta get them. They all right. They ain't disrupting nothing. At this time, the Moabites had tremendous spiritual powers and could have used them to humanize mankind and to control the creation, growth, and development of the material world in harmony with nature. Instead, they expanded their scientific knowledge through the use of so-called black magic and used this knowledge for purely selfish materialistic enterprises. The corrupt nation was on its last leg. For its people, it had even gone as far as to alter the beautiful weather in Eden and to cause catastrophic upheavals and weather conditions around the world. Now, who did I read? Who did I read did that?
The history of Yacub.
I can't hear you.
The history of Yacub.
No, I'm saying who?
The Moors.
Y'all hearing what I'm reading? Right? But you still mad at Albion saying he controlling the weather and he doing all of this stuff and he doing blah, blah, blah. That's why I want y'all to pay attention to what I'm saying. Now, even better is leave me your email addresses and I'll scan it so you can read it because you need to understand. We do a lot of finger pointing and we like to do a lot of blaming and accusing. But that's because we don't really know the truth. Now, when you know the truth, what you got to do is lose them emotions to be able to accept it. You ain't got to like it. Be clear on that. You ain't got to like it. Just accept the truth. Today, as a result of this sin, this blatant abuse of power for the majority of mankind, the divine eye or spiritual vision no longer functions. But it has left a witness to its existence in the pineal gland. When the spiritual element in man reigned supreme over the intellectual and psychic elements, the third eye, the pineal gland, was an active organ in that stage of evolution. During human life, the greatest impediment to spiritual development, and especially to the acquirement of yoga powers, is the activity of our physiological senses. When the divine powers and attributes of the godlike man of the Moabite nation have been made the servants of the newly awakened physiological and psychic passions of the physical man, then the third eye lost its power of vision. Now, when you hear that, all we talk about all the time now is doing what? Getting that third eye open. Look how long it's been closed. I said 49,000, right? And y'all already know that they say today we only using 10% of our brain capacity, right? It's not just us using 10% of the brain capacity. Don't think we alone in this nonsense, right? Nobody can figure out how the pyramids stand. Nobody can figure out how they was built. Nobody can figure out how the Sphinx or Haru Maketi is standing or how it was built. They just know it's there. They know all of this stuff is here, but nobody can figure out how. The Japanese were intent on proving that they were smarter than you.
Yeah.
So they said, we're going to go to Egypt and we're going to show y'all how to build these pyramids. What happened to the pyramids?
Didn't work.
Right into the sand. That sacred geometry, trigonometry, and all of this stuff that we're hearing about, we forgot about. How many of y'all know how to do trigonometry?
Silence.
Did you raise your hand up there? Oh. Nobody knows how to. How many of y'all remember how to do geometry?
Little bit.
Calculus?
Find a way to say
How many of y'all can count to 10?
Oh, come on, man.
I'm not being smart, I'm being serious.
Counting 9.
Right?
Gotten 9,
See, you know what?
0 to
Because we
9.
were taught basic, or 0 to 9. Because we were taught basic, right? We didn't aspire to go higher. Even though it wasn't put there for us, we still could have aspired to go higher. I told y'all before, I used to be ashamed to tell people I ain't graduated high school. I ain't graduated because it was hard. I mean, I did not graduate because it was hard. I ain't graduated just because I didn't know. It was so easy, I was just going in and passing tests and doing other stuff, but it was my attendance. And when they say, well, you know what, you need to come to school, you don't need it. You need to learn some act right? I used to be ashamed to tell people, all right. But I still remember how to do geometry, yo. I still remember how to do algebra, yo. I still remember the history lessons, yo. I still remember the reports I did. I ain't no better than none of y'all. I'm not as old as some of y'all. I'm not as young as some of y'all. Right? Stop taking offense to anything, woman. She ain't controlling emotions, right?
Hey, my
Get
oceans,
them emotions under control.
my oceans.
But the point that I'm making is this. When you don't, they say when you don't use it, you lose it. That's what they say?
Absolutely.
Talk to me. That's not true. When you don't use it, you just haven't been using it. Because all it takes is a little reminder, and it'll come right back to you. Everything is like riding a bike. Everything is like riding a bike. You learn it, you can't unlearn it. You can't unlearn what you learned. It's not.
Then how come we can't remember our reincarnations?
You know what? I'm gonna walk off the camera for a minute. I'm gonna go over there and talk to y'all. But y'all can have me. I'll be right back. I'm gonna sit right here at this table. Oh man. Ask the question again.
How come we cannot remember our reincarnation?
Because you haven't been reminded. You haven't awakened that part of your brain to remember. Right now, how far back can you remember?
Until I was 3 years old.
Until you was 3. Right now, if somebody reminded you of something that happened when you was 2, you would remember it. You gotta open that part of your mind. I'm gonna tell you a story about myself. I said to my mother, what did Uncle Jimmy do when the police came in there and chased him down and took him to jail? And she looked at me and she said, how do you remember that? I said, what do you mean, how? I just do. Right? She said, well, what happened? I said, I was standing down there by the fish tank. Reason my aunt's house. Standing down by the fish tank. My uncle came running in the house and ran upstairs under the bed. The police came knocking on the door. My grandmother said, go get him. Right? Police went upstairs, my uncle kicking and screaming, "Mommy, mommy, don't let them take me out of here. Mommy, mommy, don't let them take me out of here." And I'm standing there crying, they taking my uncle, right? They took him to jail. You know what my mother said to me? That wasn't Jimmy. Jimmy is my mother's youngest brother. She said, that was your Uncle Tim. Now, I'm 39. This December, I'll still be 39. I'll be 40 in January. When they came and got my uncle, I wasn't 2. No, the same story I'm telling you, I was turning 2 that January. I wasn't 2 years old yet. That's why my mom was so puzzled and confused about how I remember that, because I wasn't even 2. Right? Now, the reason I remember it is because it was a traumatic experience. Right? Now, traumatic experiences and joyous experiences, you'll remember if you're reminded. Now, your reincarnation could have been traumatic because you could have had the umbilical cord wrapped around your neck, and you probably wasn't going to take that first breath. If you're reminded and you open up your mind, you'll remember. Now, it could have been a joyous one. You could have been like, man, that way that I got killed in my last life wasn't cool. I'm back to get it right this time. That's a joyous experience. Right? But if you open up your mind, you'll remember. I wasn't 2, and I remember that like it was yesterday. You can remember, y'all. The brother simply said, you don't forget. No, you don't forget. It's just a matter of remembering. It's impossible to forget. You can't forget. Say, oh man, that guy, he done it out of my life. Forget him. You ain't gonna forget. As soon as you see him, you can get them same emotions and hate him all over again. Yeah, we can't forget. And
So
think about all of this. What's that?
Like when people talk about deja vu?
Deja vu. This is a bit tricky because you may be experiencing something you experienced in another lifetime. Right? I might have, Sabrina's my wife, yeah, but she could have been my wife in my last life. She could have been one of my homies. She could have been my cousin, she could have been my sister, but we got some kind of bond. Right? So then you be walking down the street and you be like, it might not have been this lifetime. It might have been last time. The buildings might not be the same, but the energy might be. Because them trees, they give off that energy. So, it could be anything. Deja vu, it could be a past lifetime. Could be, who knows. But the fact is, you don't forget. You just got to remember. Now, before we talk about all the different ways to reactivate that other 90%, right? Music, sound, colors, whole number of things you can do. Even gazing at that sun. Even gazing at that sun. Getting the energy harvesting, the energy of the moon. There's plenty of things we can do to reactivate that. Like I told you before, like you're right-handed, right? Who's left-handed? Anybody left-handed? Come here for a second now. This is an experiment to help to open up the other 90%. I asked for a left-hand person because there don't be too many of them around. Now, draw the first one with your left hand. No. Trace the lines. No, you ain't finished. Yeah, draw a line. All right, now step back so you can see. Y'all see the one?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's perforated and it's drawn out, so he should be able to trace it, right? Go with your right hand. Now, some people can't even hold a pen or a pencil in the other hand the correct way. Now step back so you can see. Okay. Now who else can do it? Now what I want you to do is this. Draw one without the lines with your right hand and then your left hand. However, we'll be able to tell. Now do it with your right hand. You don't see the difference? Y'all can see the difference. So you know which one was the right hand and which one was the left hand. So you know that his left hand is his dominant hand and his right hand is not. Now, if he wanted to do an exercise to increase his brain function and brain activity, all he got to do is practice with this hand until it looks like this. So instead of now using that dominant side of his brain, which is his right side, because he's strong on that left side, now he's activating that other side of his brain and waking it up. Islam.
I got an exercise I used to do to
Hey, come over here. Come over here, take the mic.
get the left and the right brain to actually work at the same time. I don't really need it, right? This is what I do.
No, I want you
No,
to
you
hold my mic. That's for the camera.
Well, I need both hands.
Go ahead, I'll hold it.
Alright. Basically, what I do is I get some paper. When I'm writing on paper, and I write with both hands, and I do like this. I'll write the same thing with the right that I'm writing with the left, and vice versa at the same time, going opposite directions. So I do something like this.
Y'all see what he did? Now, I'm gonna tell y'all what's the beauty in what he just did. And why, and another reason that it woke up that extra brain function in his mind, right? How did he write this? Who? Not, well, he did write it with his right hand, but in which direction did he write it?
Left to right.
Right.
Left to right. Which way did he write that?
Right to left.
Now, how many of y'all know how your ancestors wrote? Left to right, right to left, up and down, down left.
Right to left. Yep.
You wrote in all four different directions. Now be honest, just show of hands. How many of y'all can write in all four directions? Now, the problem is this. I want all of you to raise your hands because you can write in all four directions. How it's going to look is a different story. But you can do it. You're capable of it. When you just defeated yourself, it's not by raising your hand. I've never did it, but I ain't going to sit here and say I can't do it. Hell yeah, I can do it. Now, how it's going to look, different story. But I'm going to do it. So you are capable of doing it. Listen, this experiment right here. I'm going to get to the experiment. Now, I want you to understand just how strong your brain is. The fall of the Moabite nation was the conclusion of the cycle of experiences, just as all things begin. Lived through and finished cycles of experiences. At the same time, a new cycle of experiences was beginning for different types of beings. Out of the ruins of the old came the birth of the new. This is an eternal truth, and it applies to all modes of life, from the simple atom to entire galaxies. As above, so below. Realizing this, Yacub took the best of what was being destroyed, 12 female Moabite genius scientists, and mated them with the being in whom Yacub saw the seed for a potential, much improved future race of men to people the earth during the cycle. In short, the best of what was being destroyed of the Moabite nation was blended together with the potential best in order to bring forth a new race of man, much improved over the one of that time. The name that is given to that being is Negro, Guevara, Raba, animal chimpanzee. At the time Yacub's experiment, I should say at the time of Yacub's experiments, the atmosphere was very different. There were planets in the solar system that are no longer visible in this day and age. Having inherited tremendous occult knowledge and mystical powers from their priestly father, Merlu Akin-Il, Yacub was able to communicate with beings from other planets who were even more mystically steeped in magic and science than he was. He even traveled to their other planets with them in order to increase his own knowledge. Now, when I read that, people will be like, oh, you tripping. That didn't happen. But go back and read some of that Dogon information that came after this, where they was teaching everybody about Sirius A, B, and C, and they said you tripping. It ain't no B and C. And now the European loves Sirius A, B, and C. In the 4th chapter of Genesis, references are made to some of these beings from outer space who were called the sons of God. Yacub learned how to experiment with all forms of magic. And it is even stated in Volume 2 of The Secret Doctrine by H.P. Blavatsky. What is that lady's full name?
Madam.
Helena.
Helena. I know it's Madam Blavatsky, but I was saying H.P.
I know Helena.
Helena, all right, so Madam Helena Blavatsky. That the divine kings descended and taught man sciences and arts, for man could no longer live in the first land Eden. A knowledge of biology, anatomy, organic chemistry, pigmentation, botany, electronics, and magnetic laws of opposites, attraction involving steel and iron elements, are some of the sciences that the woman scientists and Yacub used to create the ruddy-skinned sons through animalistic experimentation so as to manifest a great human bouquet through a measurable process of global amalgamation with the Asiatic nation. But much more important than their knowledge of the physical sciences was their understanding of the occult or hidden forces which were utilized to make manifest the object of their experiments. So you see the Planet of the Apes, you see Frankenstein, you see the Island of Dr. Moreau, you see Avatar, you see all of these different movies. Matrix, all of these different movies giving you all of this science. But those ones in particular giving you this science. The story of Yacub. Seeing the errors which were resulting in the collapse and ruin of his generation, Yacub, possessing a tremendous ego, desired to show the ruling Moabite officials that his brilliance could produce better beings. But even though he was refused his heart's desires, he was still given dominion over a group of islands on which he was allowed to study and conduct experiments, with a partly twisted purpose in mind to show up the Moabites and to humanize the present civilization in order to keep it on the upswing. He labored for 40 years on these islands until his experiments bore fruit. Yacub then used the mountain and jungle regions of Yucatan, Honduras, Venezuela, Argentina, and the Amazon jungle of Brazil as the experiments for his first creations. The waters of the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, and the islands of the Pacific Ocean were used in addition to Central and South America. I don't need to read too much more. It's extensive. But when you watch the Island of Dr. Moreau, when you watch the Planet of the Apes, that's it right there. They telling you that. They just entertaining you. I'm just not up there doing hoops and jumping through hoops and doing tricks. And all of that kind of crazy shit, excuse my language, but yeah, they telling you that story right there. You're just not seeing it. You know why? Because we just read a couple minutes ago that eye got shut because we fell off. And now we trying to climb back on because we need that eye to open back up. Because we need to be able to absorb the rays from the sun. We need to be able to harvest the energy from the moon. We need to be able to communicate with each other without even saying anything. You should know what I'm thinking. If somebody was in here right now opposing me, y'all should know what I'm thinking. I shouldn't have to say to Sharif, turn off the camera for y'all to know what time it is. So now y'all know. If I have to say turn off the camera, y'all know what time it is. But the point I'm making is we should be on those wavelengths. I shouldn't have to say it. You should be able to see my movement and be able to start thinking like, SetenRa ready to do something. This dude right here getting under his skin. He ready to do something. Let's get on go. I shouldn't have to say turn off the camera. We should be interconnected. We should be linked and locked and looped.
What I was going to state is Spy Kids. I was watching the other day with my children. They was talking about that. They did the whole thing. They had an island, the scientists on the island. He was doing gene splicing, experimenting, mixing different animals together, stuff like that. And it's just, I'm sitting there smiling, explaining to my children, like, oh, that's what they're talking about. This is what it is.
Is Spy Kids a cartoon or a movie?
No, it's actual movies.
It's a movie?
Yeah, it's one of the children's movies.
So, children, when they said it's a children's movie, right?
Yeah, it's called Spy Kids.
And they show it to you?
I think it's like 3, Spy Kids 3, something like that.
Spy Kids, it's 3 of them?
Yeah, it's like 5 of them really, but I think it's the third
And
one.
they probably giving up the whole history of
They
science.
do.
In the movie. And ain't nobody paying attention.
And the second thing with the Dogans, me and a couple brothers I know were actually trying to get them to open up a center here in Philly. They have one in Brooklyn, they got one their headquarters in Chicago. Of course, their international headquarters is in Africa. They have one in San Diego and one in like West Virginia. If all y'all will go to earthcenter.org, earthcenter.org, whatever.
Earthcenter.org.
Earthcenter.org, yes, earthcenter.org. We're actually trying to bring them here. Things like $3,000 and have them throw an event. We're going to start an Earth Center here in Philly. So if anybody is interested in that, please meet me after class, whatever. I'll gladly give more information and see if we can touch base and make it happen. Because it's happening. It's happening. Like when I say it's happening, it's happening. Very happy.
Do you think that some of the reasons why we may not remember things and different things happen to our things that happen to us physiologically are because of like what we ingest and the different things they put in the food and the air and all that?
Absolutely. So what the mother said is, do I think that the reason we can't remember a lot of things that happen to us is because of the things that we consume in the air? And that's listen.
In the food.
You eating genetically modified food. Excuse me. Back in 2013, I did a class on Monsanto. And when I'm doing the research said that 70% of the vegetation that grew at the turn of 1900 doesn't grow today. 70%. Right now, you think about all the stuff that you got to eat as far as vegetation, fruits and vegetables, and you don't got 70% of it. Right? And then you wonder, why did our ancestors live to be 100? Why was they so strong? They were still out tilling the field at 80 and 90. And you got people today that's 45, they get it. Right? The food, the water. The water is toxic. You know the water is toxic because you can smell it when it comes out the faucet. I remember the day that I started drinking bottled water, because I was one of them, I'm not paying for the water. Water's free until I smelled it. Before I was ready to drink it. The water's toxic. But then you got to also remember of the years and years of indoctrination. You've been indoctrinated, not only you, but your mother, her mother, her mother, her mother before that. And you know what I'm saying? So all that indoctrination, all of those memories you have, you just haven't awakened. Right? So when you it was you that asked about the deja vu. When you get that, it could be something that grandma experienced. Right? You got grandma's feet, you got grandma's memories. You got grandma's eyes, you got grandma's emotions. You got grandma's fingernails, and you got her thoughts. It's passed down from generation to generation. We can't escape that. So definitely, whatever it is that you having trouble with, you can think about the food you consume. You can even think about the type of water, or if you're getting enough water. Because your body needs water to function properly. If your body's dehydrated, everything's going to fall out of key. Your organs ain't going to work right. Your brain ain't going to work right. You ain't going to be able to function. So if you're drinking more juice or more soda than water, you need to switch that up. Drink more water. Put that juice and soda to the side. There's plenty of things we can do.
Islam, just to add, the toothpaste, check your toothpaste for fluoride, because like toxic to the vitamin and everything. Probably should look for like Tom's and have the fluoride free toothpaste.
So the brother talking about the fluoride that's in the toothpaste. The same fluoride that's in the water that they're pumping out of school killing. They're putting all kinds of, you know what I'm saying? Now we're going to take a break in a second, so y'all go back there and break and stretch your legs. And then we'll finish up. But before we do, my aunt is a dental assistant. And I made an appointment to go to the dentist, right? I wanted to get x-rays. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything was tight. So she said, you want to get your teeth cleaned? I said, hell no. Put none of that crap in my mouth. You know what she said? Oh, we got some other stuff. People who don't want that stuff.
They always have that alternative, man.
Huh?
They always have to have an alternative.
Yeah. See, the problem is that there is an alternative. That's the problem. So for everybody who doesn't know that there's an alternative, they got to get the poison. Now, and just by showing hands, how many people ain't got fillings in their mouth?
Not anymore, you fell out.
Y'all know how they dispose of fillings? The same way they dispose of car bags. They got to be cleaned and picked up. They can't throw them in the trash. They get fined for it. That's the same feeling you got in your mouth. Now, they know that it's toxic. And how I know? Because my aunt told me when I confronted her. She said, why you put that stuff in people's mouth? And she looked at me like she wanted to slap me. But I mean, really, why y'all putting that stuff in people's mouth? For one, people don't know. And two, it's business. They could care less. The problem is there's an alternative.
Can I tell you about an experiment? I mean, it would have been an experiment if I had let it be, but I didn't. In 1991, I was in Ohio, living in an Ansar Law community. My mate said to me one day, Mufida, I want you to go to the dentist and get your teeth cleaned, and I made an appointment for you. Go get your teeth cleaned. Thank you. I made an appointment for you to go get your teeth cleaned. So 2 weeks later, I found a sister to go out with, and we went to a walk-in clinic to go get my teeth cleaned. And so the assistant nurse came into the office, and she said, well, I need to examine your teeth first to see what's going on before we can clean your teeth. I said, okay. So she put that thing in my mouth. I don't know what it is, makes your mouth stay open. So she's going, writing all these notes down, And so then she says, takes everything apart, and SetenRa Mufida was my Muslim name. You have 7 cavities, and you cannot get your teeth clean until we take those cavities out of your mouth. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make an appointment for you to come back in 2 weeks and get those teeth removed, and then we can get your teeth clean. Now I know I don't have cavities. What? So I said, okay, sure, not a problem. I'll be back. Make the date. If I went back, you went back. So I went to another dentist, walk-in dentist, 2 weeks later. This is an Albion now. The dentist himself checked my teeth, and he says to me, you have perfect teeth. They only need to be cleaned. I don't trust doctors.
Can I share something about the dentist mobiles that you see in the street? Thank you. In the 60s, when I was in elementary school, there was the dentist mobile. It's like the ones that you see out here now. And what they did was preventive medicine, preventive dental, and they filled all of my teeth. I didn't have any cavities. They filled all of my teeth with metal. Those same dental trucks are out here today. You see them on the corners with the little happy animal faces on it. They are filling our children's teeth with this
metal.
So run away. And it's just as toxic to take it out as it is to have it in.
And don't they have well, like you said, alternative? It costs more.
It costs
more, but I'd rather have that, but I can't afford it. So
it's business. Everything is business. Right now, the problem, like I said, is that there's an alternative. It shouldn't be. You should just be able to go get treated. Right? But you can't. It's business. Even back in time, the village doctor didn't get paid until you were vetted. Now you got to pay before you even get seen. They want to know what your insurance is before you even get seen. You ain't got no insurance? Give them that other stuff. Now if you're paying, and you're giving them currency, and they'll give you the best of what they got. But the sad point that I'm making is that there's an alternative, and it shouldn't be. Now, the other whole point that I wanted to make this whole time is how I started off. And I'll get to that. I don't want you to forget what you're going to say. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want you to forget what you're going to say.
I'm not going to forget. The brother mentioned the Tom's toothpaste.
Yeah.
I hope no one in here is using antiperspirant deodorant. I hope everybody in here is using Tom's or a natural deodorant because you know it's causing breast cancer in men as well as women.
Now, the whole
Tom's gotta, we gotta get a certain Tom's, because I called up there.
the Toms they sell in the store actually got a chemical in it that they use in degreasing. You gotta call them 2 Toms to get the right.
So what the brother said was you gotta call Tom's to get the right deodorant and toothpaste, because what they're selling commercially has some chemicals in it that they use in degreasing.
Or find someone who makes it.
One good deodorant you can use is Men's regular, original. Not the more other one.
Is who?
Men's, the original.
Minutes?
Yeah, Men's. It doesn't have the aluminum in it.
I never even heard of that.
What you
How you spell it?
But only the original.
How you spell it?
M-E-N-N-E-N, Men's.
Oh, man, it's deodorant.
Menon.
That's an old school oil.
Baking soda back in the day.
I use that crisp that,
Sounds good for that. You like 3 years older than me. Anyway, the point that I was making is this. Reading the whole Yacub story, talking about the planet of the apes, talking about the Frankenstein stories, talking about the island of Dr. Monroe, right? And talking about the relations we have today with the Albion. The Albion is a spawn of us, 12 more white mothers, and a chimpanzee. And had we continued reading the story, you find out that he got out of control. You couldn't control him, put him off in the cage, and eventually he got his act together and he got mad and he came back, and now you, the Negro, the nigger. What they call you? Monkey, chip, ape, coon, all of that type of stuff. But the thing is this: if we continue to hate him, then we'll lose, because that hate is going to consume us and it's not going to permit us to think. When you consume and filled with hate, you can't think properly, because you're emotional and you're going to be angry and you ain't going to be able to move efficiently. So when we think about the relations we have with them, deal with them on an individual basis, the same way you deal with Moors on an individual basis. Because you might be all right, he might be a jerk. Right?
right.
So I deal with you, but I can't deal with him because I can't tolerate this. You know what I'm saying? Right. If it's Albion sitting over there, then I deal with you because you might be all right. You might be a jerk. If we keep on thinking we got to kill them all off, we're going to lose the war. We are at war. Be clear on that. We are at war. We're going to touch on that after we come back and break. But if you think that you're going to kill them all, or that you're going to kill half of them, you said you're mistaken. That's not the way to go. That's not the way to think. The way to move is to think. It's not.
Can we separate from them? Don't kill them, but
Separate
just
from them. If you separate from them,
separate from them.
then what?
Share this space with them.
Live your culture and they live theirs.
They not
You
gonna
can.
let that happen.
I mean, we done it before. Where we went in our communities and they went in their communities. We did it before. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Durham, North Carolina, down in
But did
Florida.
it work?
Did it work? Of course it worked. They got jealous and they came and they set fires and let off automatic weapons.
Yeah.
And waking up at 6 in the morning with airplanes dropping bombs, it worked, but, you know.
I'm talking
They-
about a
they-
larger separation. I'm talking about
Now, just let me be clear.
on
One
Avatar.
second.
Take them off the planet and send them. Ooh, God.
If you take them off the planet and send them somewhere,
Send
then
them
what?
somewhere.
I mean, I'm being realistic. If you take them off the planet and send them somewhere,
That's their goal.
then what?
Do me
Because-
live peacefully and they can live their life.
Now, I'm gonna tell you why you won't live peacefully. And this is coming from the soul, from the inside. The reason you won't be able to live peacefully is because your people won't let you. I ain't talking about us. I'm talking about them. They won't let you. Now, I know a lot of y'all watch Dave Chappelle, right? When Dave Chappelle had his show, he had a show where they was giving reparations to all the black folks, right?
Right.
Now, they gave all these black folks all these reparations. and my man pulled up with a truck full of cigarettes.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it's not, because it's the truth. If today we rounded up all the Albions on the planet, put them on a ship and sent them to the moon, your people won't let you live in Arbor. Your own people, these same Moorish people that we talking about, won't let you live in peace now.
But there's a solution for them too.
Send them with them. That was you gonna say?
No. I don't know where this story comes from, okay? But I was told that in ancient Africa, in the ancient kingdoms of Africa, okay, that when our people did things that that was against culture, that was against our laws, what we did was give them to nature. We put them outside the gates and let nature take its course.
I'm not in disagreement with that. The problem is if we do that, then that's 90% of us. We are out of order. See,
Nature takes its course anyway.
Yeah, nature's gonna take its course anyway. But see, the problem is we keep pointing the finger. We keep on blaming everything on Albion. We ain't taking accountability. Just like now, if I'm remembering right, the number since August is 100 plus police shootings. Right? What's the number of Moabite shootings against Moabite shooters?
City of Philadelphia alone,
Philadelphia or Chicago.
it was like 100 and something.
You see?
That's just the city of Philadelphia.
It was either a class ago or the class before. Well, like 7 people got shot on the same block.
Yeah.
And we're in the same weekend.
Yeah.
And we steady pointing fingers. Why they did? Black Lives Matter. Do they? Or y'all just talking shit?
It's funny because the person that you started that joint, he's not even black.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
It's
man.
like, bro, he's not even black.
We keep on pointing fingers.
No, dude.
And we ain't pointing like we should in Islam.
Peace. We gotta do like Brother Todd said last night. We gotta find a way to create balance, man. And what I learned in my studies and my research is that, and it also says in the Bible you can't eat they wasn't supposed to eat from the tree of life. But we are that tree of life. Yeah. We connected. And you hear it over and over. Taj always say, we gotta honor our mothers and fathers, but we gotta honor our mother, which is Mother Nature, and we gotta get in tune. And if we get in tune with Mother Nature, then we become one, and Mother Nature will work with us because we are that is that.
I tell some of the people that I work with. I tell some of the people Islam. I tell some of the people that I work with that when we're in conversation. When we're in, can you hear me? Can you hear me? When we're in conversation, when we're talking, they'll say things like, "Yeah, they're out there shooting each other and they ain't gonna stop." And trying to think of ways to try to, think of something to solve things or to start whatever. I don't know. I know my little thoughts. I'm just one little iota. But I'll say, our thoughts were blessed. Our words were blessed. It was the word, whatever it says in the Bible. So the things that we say come to fruition. So if we say things like they're shooting each other up and they're never going to stop, well, it starts with the things that we say and think. We think negative a lot. I always try to think good thoughts. Not to say that that's going to solve everything, but from me, that's what I try to do. I have a long way to go myself because I'm around a lot of negative things. But I think that the way we think and the things that we say have a lot to do with what's going on.
It definitely does, but
Words are powerful. We speak them into existence.
Yes.
Right.
That was the whole purpose of me telling you the story about that little boy putting that bottle in. Because even though you say that you're just one iota, that you're just one individual, that's all it takes to reach one other individual, right? So even though they saying they shooting everybody, they ain't gonna stop by you saying, y'all stop talking like that, stop thinking like that. Because I'm not trying to get shot when I leave here and you're not either, so let's not even talk this time. If it's 6 of them, and only one of them gets what you're saying, you get your job. So it only takes one small iota, or one individual, or one natural person, to say one thing, to spark one mind. So your thoughts are very powerful and very important. By you speaking what you just spoke, there's other people in there. You might have touched somebody in there. This brother sitting right there in that temple ain't came in there. They can hear everything you say. And some people gonna watch this video. So your one small iota just became one big iota. So,
I'm looking at the situation. I mean, you talked about Monsanto and how many years ago we had eaten food that is actually evolved in organic. Well, I look at what came first, the chicken and the egg. We have so many children coming into this world now whose mothers and fathers' diets are so messed up that we have children that are 1, 2, 3 years old and they're already angry. They are off the chain with their attitudes, and you can, it's rough. Artificial flavor, dyes, sugars, and then we send them off to a school where the teacher cannot teach them because they can't sit still. So we're raising a generation of children who are so angry and they're going to grow up. So when they say, oh, well, we give them some Ritalin, they have a problem. So then, from the Ritalin, they're sitting in class. All that. They're sitting in class, they're numbed up. But when they get a little older, they're looking for some more drugs. So we have a serious situation. And I look at it and talk about it all the time because I have grandchildren. And I'm seeing it, and I'm like, don't give her that. They can't do that. We got to stop it somewhere. Because I'm looking at anger. All this, you step on my shoe and I'm going to shoot you. Because people can't think. If you can't think, then you just do negative stuff.
people can't think. A lot of people can't think because of their emotions. People can't control their emotions, and that prevents them from thinking logically.
I've got to make, I probably won't need that. The sister is right. I work as a behavioral specialist, and my youngest clients were 3 years old, and I've had several who were born of parents.
You need to use the mic.
Can you use
so
any
you
way?
can-
Oh, I do?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. All right. I agree with what the sister said. I work as a behavioral specialist 9 months out of the year, and I see it every day. I have seen babies, not just with handcuffs on, but with bodysuits. With the police bring them into the psych unit, strapped, their hands, their arms, and their feet. And these kids are very, very strong physically. They know how to kick, and if you've ever been, I've never, thank God, been kicked by a child with sneakers, but I know adults who have, and they are really in pain, and they bite. And they can kick you and bite you before you, one lady said, he kicked and bit me before God got the message. So they come here very, very strong physically, and their diets are very poor, extremely poor, bleached white sugar, just foods that you wouldn't even want in your house. You don't even want to feed your animals or your enemies some of the foods that they have on a steady diet.
So y'all know they say that this generation of children is going to be the first generation of children that were dumber than the generation before them. Like they're not getting smarter, right? And you got, like I said before, in order to diagnose a problem, you can't just look at the problem. You got to look at the situation, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to, I was born in 1976. Anybody else born in the 70s? One second.
Before you start, can I just say something real quick?
Go ahead.
It's not just the diet, it's the media.
It's the what? I didn't
You
hear
said me.
I gotta make a comment. I got it. I mean, she's basically, she just opened it. Yeah, I told her to just let her say first, but really and seriously, all of this, it's just two things, All right, just two things. One, I heard someone, I think it was the brother here, please, talk about how this is our earthly mother and heavenly father. They're one. So everybody who wants to get to the heavenly father, which we know that's a process of creation, father, has to come through the earthly mother. That's why we're here. So you're right. The whole deal is to honor that mother and do her laws while you're here in order to get to or send elsewhere. And the whole deal was to deflect us from doing just that with the patriarchal Christian creed, that period, end of story, religion. So any of us who say we're Christians, we need to really think about that, because that's that intention. It's not to take away from Yahshua or any meditation or prayer, but it's to really look at that it does not put in place the heavenly mother. And you're not going to get to the earthly mother, and you're not getting to sit at the feet of no God, whoever you think your God is when you go, if you are unclean. I don't care, you're not going to sit at the feet of whoever you say your God is, if you're unclean. So it starts with, and I recently read, the Essene Gospel of Peace, book 1, guess what? It was found in the Vatican, the lost books, they say. And Yahshua wrote it. Yahshua being Jesus, for those who do know or don't know. And basically it's saying, eat the right foods, clean up, and it's dealing with, like they say, 7 years of slavery or something. You say, yeah, right. Don't you know that what they say you have to be indebted to in 7 years, you can do in 7 days by acknowledging. That's why it's only the circle 7. That's it. It's very powerful. The second thing is about the schools. We were just really talking about this with the children. The truth of the matter is, we're not supposed to have our children in those schools, because those schools are not designed to teach our children. And it keeps reminding me where Prophet Muhammad made it clear that you are to have your own schools. Some of the reasons we're sitting here and we know this is because there's information that grown people, including myself and all of us in this room, are finding out about their history and the world history that you never knew. And it can make you angry. And it certainly can make younger people who are still pliable very angry. And not to mention about the food, because the food is what does kill us as we get older in the practices that have been done. So that's why everybody's eating healthier now. But it's that if you're just finding out facts about history that involve you, there should be no more question as to whether or not the intention is ever to teach anything to you or your children. And if you're thinking, well, they're public schools, so we're going to go in there and we're going to tell them what we want them to teach our children. You can forget that too, because the only portion of the fact that they're public schools to you ought to be the building that they're in, that you might claim as your institution to teach your children. But otherwise than that, they have a curriculum. And since you want to ask them to change their curriculum that they designed for you, make your own.
Yep.
Islam.
Hold on 1 second, bro. Well, let him make his comment, and then we'll break for a minute. Maybe 15 minutes, we'll break around break.
Two things. First off, a lot of people don't realize the public school systems actually have our curriculum. I know a brother in Camden, I can't remember his name on top of my head. I have his phone number. He actually he started a curriculum for the Camden School District, and he brought it over here to Philadelphia also. It's about us. Hands down, it's about us. Us as the people don't push that issue. Us as spiritual beings don't push that issue. If we push the issue, then they have no choice but to actually bring that curriculum. There's actually one in the Northeast. I was talking to a sister like 2 weeks ago. She was saying they also have a curriculum. So the curriculum's already on file. But the majority of parents aren't really, they're not involved. Most parents are not involved. They got a 9 to 5 They got stuff they got to do. So it's just, schools, if you actually do the history about schools, schools are set up by Rockefellers to get people off their farms so they can start a industrial revolution. Europeans.
They were set up for Europeans. They were not
it's
set
not
up
really, as I said, it's a daycare. That's all it is. So that way both the parents can go to work, so the children have some place to go. So it's like us as the people, we have to push the issue because the curriculum is also here. On the second note, I actually own a school. I run a school. It's called LoganCSPTraining.com, LCE. What we do is actually, we teach 2 international certs, give us 6 months of your life, guaranteed to change your life. It's still processing, basically clean all medical equipment. Medical equipment from hospitals, dental office, outpatient surgery offices. Coca-Cola actually has a sterile room. My people don't know this. Coca-Cola actually has a sterile room. So in order to clean that sterile room, you have to have that cert. So again, in the class, you talk to me, I'll gladly put that information out to you.
Did you say you have to have a certification?
Yeah.
No,
Sterile
you
processing. No, sterile processing. The trade squad one. Sterile processing. You actually don't have to have it.
I do have to.
The thing is, the state law is changing. Pennsylvania's changed across the nation. New York's already changed. Jersey's changed. Connecticut's changed. Delaware's changed. Pennsylvania's the last legislation. It's literally changing across. So now you have to have a service. Before you work sterile processing, clean up medical equipment. You didn't come in straight out of high school, GED, they didn't care. But now the fact that people are really starting to realize they don't clean it properly, plus it's, like the brother's saying, it's a commercial bullet. It's war. So there's war, there's money off of it. You have to be certified.
All right, I just got one last thing to add. And you know, there's something you just brought up, but it was something before you brought it up. And what it was is the confusion that we give to our children, because we were talking about this to children going into the public schools, but you know, if the parent doesn't teach them right, well, things like manners and thank you, please, that's like across the board. But what's happening is that parents, if they begin to teach their child the correct information. Now, I want you to all put yourself in the place of, in the shoes of the child. This is really not cool for the child, because now the child goes to school, well, my mommy and my daddy said, and that, you know, and then your child then gets labeled a problem because they're coming with what mommy and daddy taught. Then the question comes to the child, depending on how quick they are in their age, whether they should believe mommy and daddy or believe them. Then they have the policy enforcers and all those things coming in, saying if you got a problem, even with mommy or daddy, call us, we're the law, when they're not. You see, so we need to really look at what we're doing to send our children to those schools, period. I'm saying they owe nothing to you. And the other thing is, I hear what you're saying about the state laws, but see, that's our situation. We have nothing to do with state laws. The state laws, I mean, what we do need is to know how to sterilize. I'm sure if you went to school for this, some other people that are more that know, right? So we need to not go by whether the state laws have approved it, because if we continue to do that, we will continue to be herded in another direction, because what they do is they look at what we're doing, and either they write propaganda about it to throw people off, as they recently did, you know, right? That's total propaganda from corporations that aren't even government, trying to denationalize more still, saying that they're part of a sovereign citizen movement and connecting it to the so-called white people sovereign citizen, which is propaganda because they're not connected. At the same time, Moors are not a part of the sovereign citizen movement, so it's their fault for going out there saying so. And we tried to tell them this is about your nationality and your birthright, and sovereignty only comes with nationality. It doesn't stand alone. So those Moors who went out and got their UCC, I got my sovereignty with my UCC, they are putting themselves in that position to be pulled because of their lack of knowledge. So the propaganda is trying to see how many, with this fishnet, can I still pull in, who's going to stand before whatever and not know what the heck they're talking about. Meaning, in essence, not honoring their mothers and fathers. That's all it comes down to. So I say that to say that we have enough people. It's just like navigating. Truck drivers. Well, just because you don't use the license instrument doesn't mean you shouldn't send your child to learn how to navigate. So now you're saying I don't have a job. There's a good one right there. To teach the child to do that. We have to pull ourselves away from state rule, because remember, the states are bankrupt. They've been bankrupt. And they're just looking at us to see how they can do some new stuff. So we have to not be concerned about what the state law is, because we're dealing with what? American law, not state law. Not English law either.
Right on.
It's not. I'll say this and then we'll break. How many people were born in the 70s? Besides myself.
Well, what again?
Born in the 70s.
1870s?
You know 1870s, that's some stuff to tell me. Alright.
1870.
Yeah, so most of us who were born in the 70s, you ain't gotta raise your hand and you ain't gotta confirm or not. Most of us who were born in the 70s, our mothers and fathers were in the household together.
Right.
Most of us who were born in the 70s did not grow up with their mother and father in the household. Now,
Yeah,
now that kicked off in the 70s, right?
yeah.
And then in the 80s, we got hit with crack. We got hit hard with crack. Now, all of this was designed back in the early 70s by the Rockefellers, right? We got hit hard with crack. Some of us lost our mothers to crack. Some of us lost our fathers to crack. And we didn't have no real guidance or no real discipline, right? So we went wayward. We did what we wanted to do. And then what we do? We had children. And since we were not taught right, how in the hell can we teach them anything right? We couldn't. And then they had children. And these are the children that's running around today, right? So that's what I say. When you look at a problem, don't just look at the problem, look at the situation. This is now 40 years. They put it in effect 40 years ago, and it's coming to fruition today. We got more of our boys and girls engaging in same-sex nonsense than ever before in history. Right? When I'm now, like I said, I'm 39. When I was 9, I didn't know no homosexual people. Not none. And now people looking at you like you straight. Like it's something wrong. It's social engineering. Social engineering. Right? This thing is serious, y'all. Social engineering. So when we talk about these youth, and we talk about what needs to happen with them, it's on us. We can't keep blaming them, they're children. And I tell you what, you can go get the baddest child that you know, send him over my house 2 weeks. And I ain't going to beat him one time. Send him over my house for 2 weeks. See how many push-ups he can do when he get back.
You gotta put that cage away.
At least I can take this to home right
You
now.
gotta put that cage away, man. You got down the
I ain't putting him in no cage. You know what the problem is? I tell you what the issue is this, right? Don't nobody talk to children.
Right.
You gotta talk to them.
Right.
Like
You ain't
people.
talking to them. You ain't hearing what they got. You ain't, listen, what's
Let them
wrong?
raise their son.
You know, oh man, no, look, sit down and talk. What's wrong? Take a look. They like baseball game, take them to a baseball game. They like basketball, take them to talk to them. Because if you don't show them that you care, they think no one cares, and then they don't care. It's simple. It's simple. We take a 15-minute break. I'm gonna grab something to bite on because I'm about to start. And then we'll get back and we'll finish up. 2:54. Take a 15. Now, unless you want to start cursing, y'all wake up. When we start cursing, Islam. Candyland, we back up, y'all. Let me know when we on the street.
We're on.
Islam. I want to, y'all all got that paperwork said the Art of War by Sun Tzu?
Yeah. Yes.
Omar, I forgot to tell you, man. I emailed it to you, man, so you're supposed to, but sorry, man. Just follow along with me, okay? This book right here, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Well, they don't have the book. They got the paper that I gave out. But the book, this is the actual physical book. Y'all should pick this book up.
I got 2.
We'll give one away. Y'all should get this book. It's a great book. And my purpose for bringing it here today and talking about the Art of War today is because, like I said earlier, we are at war. The problem is we are at war with ourselves. We are at war with the Albion, and some of our people even at war with the universe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but true. So when you engage in war, you need to be prepared for war. You can't just walk into a war with a gun, a sidearm, or a rifle and start fighting. It don't work like that. You know, and when you're walking into these tribunals and walking into these utility places, all these places, and you, even like Yacub, when he went down there and smashed the magistrate trying to make him go to jury duty. It's war. But the difference was, he walked in there with his tools already sharp. He didn't go in there unprepared. He didn't go in there not knowing what it was that he was talking about. He went in there, and every time that magistrate opened up his mouth, he shut it. To the point where the magistrate got frustrated and said to him, "Get out. Tell the boys they want, just get out." They even wrote about it in the newspaper. They didn't write it the way it happened, but the point is they wrote about it. Now, the best part about the paper was this: comprehension. We're going to read a bit about comprehension in a second. Comprehension. When you can comprehend something, that means that you can clearly understand what it is that you've been told, you've heard, or you've read. Right? Everybody else that was down there that day he was there, he either had to pay 50 notes or they went to jail. How much did you give up? How many days you spent in jail? All right, well, tell the boys they want. That's what the magistrate told them. It sounds like on that day, he got a victory. And it wasn't so much that he was boasting or bragging or celebrating his victory. He was excited to let us know that he had that victory. He ain't a boastful dude. Y'all see me sitting with his biggest ears, you can't even hear him talk after. He's not a boastful dude, but we know what happened, and other people know what happened. No need for bragging. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I'm reading from the top of the page. In the Art of War, the peak efficiency of knowledge and strategy is to make conflict altogether unnecessary. To overcome others' armies without fighting is the best of skills. To win without fighting. And I put on there, the age of original humanity is already gone, because that's a passage that's later on in the book. Now, I like it when people say stuff to me like, I thought we was coming here to learn about nationality. I thought we was coming here to learn about this, that, and third. Now, this got everything to do with nationality. Because your nationality, as soon as you declare your nationality, you just engage in a war. As soon as you proclaim your nationality, you just engage in a war. I ain't talking about rifles. I ain't talking about pistols. I ain't talking about swords or knives, bats, or any of that type of stuff. But once you make that proclamation, once you make that declaration, you just engage in war. It's not a war that you want to fight, but it's a war that you have to fight. Unfortunately. Now, in the Art of War, the peak efficiency of knowledge and strategy is to make conflict altogether unnecessary. Now, unfortunately for us, that's impossible right now. Conflict is necessary. But how you go about it is a different story. Conflict is necessary because as soon as you say what you ain't going to do, it's a problem. Because you're going against the grain. Once you declare that nationality and proclaim it, now you're digging into their pocket. And that's a problem. You start digging into somebody's pocket, it's time to go to war. It's time to fight. To overcome others' armies without fighting is the best of skills. To win without fighting. We passed that, but at the same time, we can still accomplish that. Because if you know what's coming and you prepare, you address it before it gets to you. You know you wasn't paying your electric bill. You know you wasn't paying any taxes. You know you wasn't doing what you're supposed to have been doing. So what should you have been doing already? Excuse me. What should you have been doing already?
Prepare.
Prepare how?
Nationality.
For study. Just like the prophet told you, to study, study, study. Because a lot of people, what they do is they go to war, but they want somebody else to fight for. You go to war and you want somebody else to fight, you say, oh man, listen, can you write these scripts for me because, well, listen, let me ask you a question. If you wasn't ready to fight, why you get a break? Why you step on the battleground if you wasn't ready for this fight? Right, so the idea is to get prepared. Plan for what is difficult while it is easy. Do what is great while it is small. The most difficult thing in the world must be done while they are still easy. The greatest things in the world must be done while they're still small. For this reason, sages never do what is great, and this is why they can achieve greatness. Same thing I just said. When you know the situation is coming up, address it and be prepared before it's actually time to address it. So that way, when it's time, you can just roll right on, just like Yacub did when he smashed that magistrate. That magistrate ain't have a chance. He jumped right in his chest. I don't want to hear him. You gotta want to hear what I'm telling you. You gotta want to hear what I'm telling you. Because he was prepared. Taking a rational rather than an emotional approach to a problem of conflict. That's what we talked about a few minutes back. Lose the emotions and deal with it rationally. In order to deal with it rationally, that means you gotta actually take a step back, look at the situation, and think. And think. Like I told you all before, they talking about, in the art of war, they talk a lot about martial arts. But just out of curiosity, can anybody tell me what martial arts is? Who? Self-defense.
Strategy of war.
Strategy of war.
Style of
It's a
fight.
martial artist sitting right there, but he yapping, so he can't hear what I'm saying. He won't talk. What's martial arts?
What?
What are martial arts?
What is a martial artist?
Yes.
It's me. What is it?
No, I'm asking you. What is martial arts?
The what?
Definition of martial arts.
Well, it's someone that is involved with the art, which I'm involved in.
The art of
But the
self-defense.
yeah.
Or skill, specific skill. You don't have to be fighting physically. Just a skill of self-defense. When you actually sit down and you write your writs, when you actually sit down and do what you need to do, you practice in martial arts. Everything ain't physical. War ain't always physical. Sometimes war is mental. I'm gonna tell you one of the best warriors that defeated almost everybody he defeated mentally was Iron Mike Tyson. Y'all can talk, all y'all want to talk. But if Mike came walking from around there right now with them black shorts and them black shoes on and no towel, ain't nobody gonna say nothing to him. Y'all get up. Sorry, so Mike. Nah, that was not she was saying. Yeah. Because he already got you beat mentally because you know what he's capable of. And you know what you're not capable of. So all martial arts ain't physical. That mental game ain't no joke. If I can mentally beat you, physical is easy. That's the easiest part. Because I mentally got you beat. Deep knowledge is to be aware of a disturbance before the disturbance. To be aware of danger before danger. To be aware of destruction before destruction. To be aware of calamity before calamity. By deep knowledge of principle, one can change disturbance into order, change danger into safety, change destruction into survival, change calamity into fortune. How can we do that? It's not
Can I reverse a little bit? You're right about that. I've been involved in the martial arts for 25 years. Okay, instructor, teacher, 2 different styles. And so I got into the competitive part for 10 years. I competed. National titles, 2 national titles. And most of the fights that I fought, it was metal. I didn't even have to touch the guy, and I won because I knew what to do mentally, not physically. I knew what to do physically, but just my mental appearance, it was enough to defeat. So I really never had to put my hands on most of the people I beat. Because just seeing me and knowing who I was, they were automatically, I won just for the mind. I beat with the mind.
Yeah, that's
So you're right, what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the mental, and you gotta understand that mentally, they got a lot of our people beat. Mentally. Because what you hear people say, when you tell them that they say, oh man, them white people ain't gonna honor no treaty, man, them white people ain't gonna let you do this, them white people ain't gonna let you do that. Okay, well, you deal with them white people and what they ain't gonna let you do. I'm gonna go over here and tell these Europeans about what I'm doing. Is it gonna be, is it a walk in the park? No. But if you say you're ready for war, then be ready for war. I'm ready for war. I'm on the front line. I'm on the front line. Now, whoever ain't on the front line with me, I ain't mad. If you got my back, I'm happy. If you by the wayside, then stay by the wayside. Get out of my way. Let me do what it is I got to do, because I'm ready for war. Everybody ain't ready for war. As these passages suggest, warriors of Asia who use Taoist and Zen arts to achieve profound calmness did not do so just to prepare their minds to sustain the awareness of imminent death, but to achieve the sensitivity needed to respond to situations without stopping to ponder. Now I want to make something clear. When we talk about these Asian warriors, and these Taoists, and these Zen masters, know what I'm talking about, y'all. Know that I'm not talking about the Chinese people that you see up today. Go back into your history and find out that the first 3 dynasties in China were Asiatics. Go back and see that. Go back and look at some old statues of the Buddha, and look at his nose, and look at his lips, and look at the braids in his hair. Chinese men don't wear braids, and Chinese women don't wear braids. Not the Chinese you see today, the modern Chinese. So when you hear me say something about Chinese martial arts, or Taoists, or Zen masters, know that we're talking about us. I just want to make that clear. So it says to achieve profound calmness. In order to achieve profound calmness, you got to be able to control your emotions. It's just like the mother said earlier, if you step on my foot, I want to shoot you. When you step on my foot, I could react, or I could just take a step back and size you up and see what you think. Now, I just made a statement to some of my brothers and sisters the other night, that for people who do know me, who know me intimately, they know when I get around people, especially people that I don't know, I walk into a room or a situation, I automatically size everybody in that room up. It's a natural instinct. I automatically size them up, just in case I gotta react.
Is it Taurus? Are you Taurus?
Aquarius.
Aquarius, same thing.
Yeah. I automatically size them up. I was in Candyland over the weekend in a restaurant, and I was sitting with my back to the door, and it literally drove me crazy. The brother and sister who were there will tell you, and she'll tell you, it drove me crazy. All I kept doing is turning around, because every time I hear a footstep, somebody coming at the door, I need to know who it is. I don't know who's coming behind me, right? And I don't know who has vision like I had. I don't know who's going to be looking at moving and be able to see King get up. Because when King stands up, I can see that he stood up. But I'm looking at move. I don't know who else has that vision. So I need to be able to see what's going on. Why? Because I'm always ready for the Lord. Now, just for some humor, while we were sitting there eating, guess who came and sat behind us? Brother Polite. Brother Polite.
Was it okay in England?
In England, yeah. He was coming to take me out. That's not, bro.
I would suggest to affirm peace, that, by, I don't know, by having that kind of, I don't want to call it fear, but concern for safety, you kind of create a situation for you not to be safe. So I would just say,
well, that's a good point, right? Now, it's not so much fear.
It's not fear.
Now, but see, now I'm gonna explain fear, because sometimes fear is good. Because sometimes fear will keep you so on your toes that nothing can get to you, right? Just because of the fear of what may happen, right? Now that's not saying you're a coward or saying you're a punk or something like that. You're just aware. Now that whole situation there, excuse me, I wasn't fearful of what was going to happen. I was just concerned about what possibly could happen. Now I got my wife sitting in front of me, and I got another mother sitting to the left of me, and it's a child right to my right, right? Me being a man, I'm responsible for all 3 of them. I'm even responsible for the brother sitting next to me. Because if he can't see what's happening, I need to see what's happening, and I need to react so that he knows how he needs to react. Right? So when you're talking about the art of war, it's not, listen, war is the mental is where you need to be prepared. The physical is, that's imminent. Or it may not be. Just like James said, and just like Mike Tyson. Mike said flat out, the easiest part is to fight. I know that because I fought. Yacub knows that he fought. The fight is the easy part, it's the preparation. Mental preparation is tougher than the physical preparation. Comprehension is a state of quiescence, accomplishment without striving, knowing without seeing. Excuse me. This is the sense and response of the transformative time. Comprehension in a state of quiescence can comprehend anything. Accomplishment without striving can accomplish anything. Knowing without seeing can know anything. When you think about these types of things, and you think about that in science, that's the activation of that pineal gland that we was talking about earlier. Right? Because every one of y'all done had that gut feeling when you done been doing something and you stop. And you got that gut feeling. Before anything even happened, you got that gut feeling. So you know it before you know it. It's a possibility that so you stop and you say, something ain't right. Right? So what you do, you sit back and you reevaluate. And then you move forward. But too many times you ignore that feeling in your gut. And you push forward. And then you end up in some kind of trouble. Right? You hear a dog barking and you walking down the driveway. You don't just ignore it and just keep walking. When you hear the dog start barking, you should stop and say, what else is that dog? Once you locate him, you need to figure out if he can get over that gate or not. Now, that's knowing before you know. Because most dogs can jump. Right? Now, you got a pit bull. They're pretty athletic dogs. And you got a gate this high, you shouldn't walk down that driveway. That's knowing before you know. That's also common sense that a lot of us don't execute all the time. Right? So, knowing before you know and seeing before you see. Some things that we already have on us, have in us. It's just that we not working on it. We're not using that instinct. We're not using that intuition. We just pretty much just going day by day. So take the situation with the dog out, and then think about when you're navigating your vehicle. Think about when you're writing bricks. Think about when you're at work and you have arguments. You have arguments with your wife or your children, however. You still need to exercise these principles. That's why I typed it up and printed it out, so you got it. For those who don't have a book, just type right, you go through this, and if you get the book, get the book. To sense and comprehend after every action is not worthy of being called comprehension. So basically what they're saying is walking down there and you see that gate small, and that dog jump over that gate and bite you. You don't comprehend it real good right now, because you got them teeth in your hands. It's not worth saying you comprehended, that you understood, because you already knew that you shouldn't have walked down there, but you went and got bit. Now you can prove to yourself. So some people that we know, they always got to learn the hard way. Somebody actually told me, somebody close to me, extremely close to me, told me, I don't want to learn from your mistakes. I want to make my own mistakes. Somebody extremely close to me told me that. And just like shattered everything in me. Like, how could you say something like that? Like, if I'm telling you that I got bit by that damn pit bull, why you gonna walk around? They're gonna bite you too. Now, if you don't get bit, cool. But chances are you will. So what you should be thinking is, how can I navigate around that? I'm not walking on it. Some people are not good at comprehension. To accomplish after striving is not worthy of being called accomplishment. To know after seeing is not worthy of being called knowing. These three are far from the way of sensing and response. Indeed, to be able to do something before it exists, sensing something before it becomes active, seeing something before it sprouts, are three abilities that are developed interdependently. Then nothing is sensed or comprehended. Nothing is undertaken without response. Nowhere does one go without benefit. All three of these capabilities you all have. Now, it's almost like when you see horses and they're in a little small pasture, but the fence is 3 feet high. Those horses don't know that they can leap that fence because they've been stuck there for so long. Just the same way as I told the mother earlier, you can remember if you're reminded. If it's an instance that takes you back, you'll remember just fine. You'll remember everything that ever happened, how it happened, when it happened, and why it happened. But if that horse is sitting there and he don't know that he can jump that fence, he never will. So if you don't know that you have these senses and these abilities, you won't use them, you won't exercise them. That's why it's good to pick up these books, and that's why it's good to read. So you can see that type of stuff and say, I remember I did do that one day. Or I can do that. I am capable of this. And don't think just because they say Chinese people, I know a lot, like I said, I know a lot of people just automatically assume that they're talking about them. This text is over 2,000 years old. It's translated into what we read today. This book is translated into what we read today. This text is over 2,000 years old. Them your ancestors talking to you. Back through a book. To those who assist the leader by means of the Tao, do not use arms to coerce the world, for these things tend to reverse. Brambles grow where armies have been. Bad years follow a great war. Weapons are inauspicious instruments, not the tools of the enlightened. When there is no choice but to use them, it is best to be calm and free of greed, and not celebrate victory. To those who celebrate victory are bloodthirsty, and the bloodthirsty cannot have their way in the world. Now, Yacub, did you take a knife in there when you hopped at that magistrate?
No.
You take a pistol?
No.
Rifle?
No.
Baseball bat?
No.
What weapon did you take?
No.
Knowledge. Knowledge. That's the best weapon you can have. That's the best weapon you can have. A lot of people, they clam up when they get in front of the magistrate. They clam up when they get in front of the police. But the thing is this, when you've studied well, and you've prepared well, you don't feel it. You don't feel it. If the police run up on you, you sit there like, all right, what's going on? What's the problem? Well, you did this, did that. You got probable cause to be come down and shake them down. It was no emergency. Why didn't siren go? You got a business card? You got a valid oath of office? And of course they get mad. But the thing is this, you know what it is that you're talking about, so you don't feel no fear. But if you haven't studied, but you popping off when the cop come up, what are you supposed to have? Because you're not prepared. If you ain't ready for war, don't step on the field. Don't step on the battleground. If your sword ain't sharp, leave it in the sheath. Don't pull it out on me. Don't pull it out on the next one. Because I've been practicing. I might not be the sharpest sword in the joint, but I've been practicing. I'm going to cut you. I ain't threatening nobody. Just letting you know. Go to the next one. Always keep in mind, it is the unemotional, reserved, calm, detached warrior who wins, not the hothead seeking vengeance, and not the ambitious seeking fortune. Y'all watch sports. Some of y'all watch sports. A lot of times you see a team boasting and bragging because they might have been killing people all season long, and then they get crushed in the championship. I mean, literally crushed. The Super Bowl a couple years ago, I didn't see it because I was doing a Scott McCain night. The Moorish connection to illegal immigration. The Super Bowl where the Seattle Seahawks beat the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos smashed everybody all season long. And Peyton Manning swore there was no way he was going to lose. What they lose, like 100-0? They literally got crushed. Bragging and boastful when the other team was quiet and calm and relaxed and ready for war. They went in and executed. And there was nothing Peyton Manning could do. Anybody who watched sports know Peyton Manning is a bad boy. But that bad boy couldn't do nothing against that team that was already prepared. And martial arts, and remember, martial arts ain't only physical, we're talking mental. It is important that strategy be unfathomable, that form be concealed, and that movements be unexpected, so that preparedness against them be impossible. Now, how can we apply that to us? I'm asking a question.
In front of them magi.
Who?
In front of them magi.
In front of the magi, but what? Let me read it again.
Have your strategy ready, or which would be your paperwork.
In martial arts, it is important that strategy be unfathomable, that form be concealed, and that movements be unexpected, so that preparedness against them be impossible.
So they don't know what you do.
You know why a lot of stuff don't work when so-called black people do? Because they talk too much. Because they talk too much. This is what we gonna do. Let's round up up. It's a brother down in South Carolina been attacking Canaan and Moorish for 2 weeks. Really, been attacking Canaan and Moorish for 2 weeks, putting all these videos up. Man, we go kill all these crackers. Go ahead and try. Let me know when you finish. Go ahead and try. Ain't no killing all these crackers. Understand that. It ain't no killing all these niggas. Understand that. Ain't gonna happen. He ain't gonna kill all of you, and you ain't gonna kill all of them. What you need to do is think. How can you beat him without putting a finger on him? How many of y'all ever reached out to the international community? Got to understand that we talking international matters, international affairs, but ain't nobody reached out to the international community. I know you, man. You just a little bully. And you're reaching out to the international community. Right? Nobody wins a war without allies. Ain't one nation you can tell me won a war without an ally. When the United States, not a nation, but it was a war. When the United States went into Vietnam, did they win?
No.
No. Who helped Vietnamese? Anybody know?
Russia.
China. Probably in China. They had all kinds of artillery, all kinds of weapons, the whole nine.
Cuba too.
They don't make that stuff in Vietnam. They don't make that stuff in Vietnam. And they crushed the corporate United States. They crushed us because they sent so many of our boys over there and sent them back to us twisted. Stuff on drugs and stuff on them because they wasn't ready for war. If you ain't ready for war, look at them Vietnam vets. Listen, I ain't making jokes. I'm serious.
I know.
Look at them Vietnam vets.
Yep.
That's the type of destruction we talking about.
Right.
They listen. They still walk. They still talk. They ain't shot up, but mentally they screwed up.
Yes, they are.
They're right.
Because mentally they wasn't ready for war. I can put a gun in every one of y'all hands and show y'all how to shoot today. But when that time come, and I say, bro, kill him. If you don't kill him, I'm gonna kill you. At that point, you ain't got no choice. You want to go home and see your babies. So you shoot him in his face. Now you got nightmares. You know why? Because mentally you wasn't ready for that. So when it comes to this paperwork that everybody talking about writing and sending in, don't get shot in the face. And don't shoot somebody in the face if you ain't ready to get, you're not get what's coming back. Because while you shoot him in the face, somebody might be sizing you up. If you ain't ready for war, don't step on the battlefield. The art of war is serious. The tower of military operations lies in harmonizing people. That's one of the biggest problems we got, harmony amongst ourselves. Right here in Philadelphia, we argue. New York, they argue. New Jersey, they argue. I'm Hebrew Israelite. I'm Muslim. I'm Christian. I'm this. I'm crazy. You're not. There's no harmony. So this, how we gonna win? Everybody keeps saying, how we gonna win? How we gonna defeat this? How we gonna defeat that? How can you? If you think that the only people that's gonna help you in the war that look like you, if you think that the only people that'll help you in the war look like you crazy. Don't you listen? I'll be on do better. He ain't listen to you. We ain't gonna win without these niggas. And they got you. Y'all see, y'all know about the Tuskegee Airmen. Y'all know about the so-called Civil War. Y'all know about Spanish. Man, y'all know about all these wars where you helped them win the wars. Even World War II. It was your troops that went into the concentration camps and got their brothers out. I don't know how many of y'all know that. They ain't gonna tell you that it was people that looked like you that went into those concentration camps and got your brothers and sisters out. They ain't gonna tell you that. They don't want you to know about them types of accomplishments because it gives you hope. Hope is a problem. If you got hope, then you get ambition. You get ambition, then you get drive. When you get drive, you make stuff happen. And that goes against their whole operation. In ancient times, if the officers and soldiers are suspicious of each other, warriors will not join up. If loyal advice is not heard, small minds will talk and criticize in secret. Now, I told y'all about 2 months ago, Taj was up in New York, and it was a brother up there, Imam Bashir, Babyface Bashir, and the other brother, what's his name, Lord Burkhill grabbed Taj and said, Taj, tell him about black. So they went at it for a half hour, right? Now this dude didn't argue with Taj. He didn't give Taj no grief. But as soon as Taj left, he took to Facebook and attacked other people. Right? He attacked other people. So you see there's no army, and then you see right here. If the officers and soldiers are suspicious of each other. So he's an imam in a masjid. Taj is grand sheep. Right? With them going at each other, and them saying one thing and he's saying another thing, everybody else on the sideline like, that's why I don't mess with them right there. Because listen, they can't even, you know what I'm saying? He sound like a damn fool. He's saying he ain't black. We all black. Look at us. I ain't. My shirt is black. But that disharmony is what keeps us like that. Well, another strategy of war is divide and conquer. He divided the hell out of us. And it's just time for us to try to bring it back together. We got to stop. We see, I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again. If I stop doing that and start doing this, holding myself accountable, then maybe I can move forward. Now, one of the master teachers, Mfundishi Jehutimas, he got a class called Operational Unity. And what he explains is this. If me and Serena, she got her ideals and I got my ideals, right? She got 10 and I got 10. Now, if we only agree on 7 of these ideals, but 3 of hers I can't stand and 3 of mine she can't stand, why we don't get together and just work on the 7? And then she deal with her 3 when she goes home, I deal with my 3 when I go home. Because bottom line is we all got the same problem. A lack of knowledge. We got all these master teachers and we ain't learning shit. All these master teachers staring us in the face. And we just looking back at them, we go to these classes, we go to these lectures, we listen, and we walk out of that, man, yeah, he said peaches and pears don't grow on the same tree. I ain't know that. Okay, now that you do know that, now what you gonna do? They don't do nothing. They go home and they watch TV. Go home and tell everybody what they heard about. They don't make no moves. If y'all want to win the war, we gotta make moves. And the first move we gotta make is this. Stop crying about who did what. Hold yourself accountable. Once I hold myself accountable, and you hold yourself, and you, now we can sit down and we can talk. Yeah, we screwed up. How we gonna put it back together? That's the past. We screwed up. It's done. How we gonna put it back together? That's where we at now. Putting this thing back together. And we don't understand the art of war. We don't understand these simple principles. And we ain't gonna win the war. We gonna keep on getting knocked off. I don't want to keep getting knocked off. I don't want to see none of y'all get knocked off. I don't want to see nobody get knocked off. What I want to see is people saying, okay, I screwed up. How can I make it right? Whatever it is that you've done in your past, whatever it is that you've done in your life, in your existence, in this life, in this existence, you can't change it. It's done. The only thing to do at this point is take a step forward and move that. Can we do it by ourselves? No, it's got to be a collective. You remember Malcolm when they said, you want to accept help from whites? He said whites can help, but they can't join. You don't have to have Europeans as a part of your organization, but it don't mean that they can't help. You don't have to have Chinese people as a part of your organization, but it don't mean that they can't help. If they're willing to help, listen. Don't ever turn a deaf ear to anything or anybody, because you never know. That same person that you shunned that day might be the same cat that's going to pick you up. Just like my mother was bleeding to death, I'll be on pick her up and say, let me put this lady to the hospital. When I was laying on the ground in a fetal position, balled up from a kidney stone, feeling like it's going to rip the side of my body up, it was a European that stood over me and said, boy, you see? Well, he didn't say, boy. He said, is he all right? You need me to call an ambulance? You could have just kept walking on by. Now, How many times y'all think I might have been laying there and some brothers might have just really just walked past me? Trip. What's wrong with you? It's real talk. So don't keep turning your ear and your back to everybody that's walking around. Now, I ain't saying make them your best friend. I ain't saying invite them into your home. I'm just saying recognize who's in front of you. Because the one that looks like you might be the one to stab you in the back. The one who doesn't look like you might be the one to say, listen, let me get that knife out your back, get you over to the hospital, get you stitched up. I'm saying that. When you're in war, the only way to win the war is to outthink your enemy. Anytime you're in combat, anytime you're writing bricks, anytime you got a situation in front of you, you got to outthink it. A lot of people use chess as an example, right? They say you got to think 3 moves ahead of your opponent in chess. And a lot of people say we're not playing checkers, we're playing chess. But I'm gonna tell you this: sit down and play checkers with me, and don't think 3 moves ahead of me. That's when you beat, because I'm thinking that way all the time. Whether we play chess, whether we play checkers, whether we play Scrabble, whether we play tic-tac-toe, I'm looking ahead. I'm already trying to outthink you because I've been trained to do that. And I ain't no different or no better than none of the rest of them. Outthink your opponent. Question? You got a comment?
No.
Huh? It's 4 o'clock? All right. I'll read a couple more and then we'll wrap up. I think we're almost ready. Have no hard feeling toward anyone who has not shown you enmity. Do not fight with anyone who does not oppose you. Planning should be secret and attack should be swift. That means keep your mouth shut. Do what you got to do. Get it over. Go on about your business. Those who are skilled in combat do not become angry. Those who are skilled in winning do not become afraid. Thus, the wise win before they fight, while the ignorant fight to win. 5 things to consider in war: the way, the weather, the terrain, the leadership, and the discipline. The way means inducing people to have the same aim as the leadership. If the people don't believe in the leadership, forget about it. So they will share death and share life without fear of danger. The weather means the seasons. How many of y'all know anything about Hitler and why he lost the war? Hitler lost the war. World War II was over because Adolf Hitler wouldn't listen to his generals. They said, listen, don't go into Russia, man. That winter's too cold. We ain't gonna survive. Look, I'm the Fuhrer. We going up into Russia. Listen, man, the winter's too cold. We can't take it. They went up there and he lost 75% of his troops.
Froze their heads.
The weather. You said it froze their heads. The weather means the seasons. The terrain is to be assessed in terms of distance, difficulty, ease of travel, dimension, and safety. When the United States went into Vietnam, they was in terrain that they had no business in. Them cats was in the ground, in the trees, in the sky, and everywhere else, and there was no defense they had against it because they had no business in that terrain. They knew it, they did it. Anytime you go to war, it's always on your turn. You don't want to go to your enemy's territory. Huh?
You always want the high ground.
Yeah, you don't want to go to your enemy's territory. That was like when we was young, we was running from the police. They couldn't ever catch us because they was on our territory. You know what I'm saying? You could have 10 cars, but I know where to go. You don't. You know my terrain. I wasn't bad, y'all. Leadership is a matter of intelligence, trustworthiness, humaneness, courage, and sternness. In order for you to be a leader, you gotta have some form of intelligence. In order for you to be a leader, you gotta have some courage, because if you don't go first, they're not coming behind you. In order for you to be a leader, you need to be stern. You need to make it understood. Either you come or you go. Y'all seen what Mother Harriet Tubman said, right? Sure. Turn around if you want to.
That's right.
Discipline means organization, chain of command, and logistics. discipline is something that we seriously lack. we engaged in this war, and we're not disciplined at all. And the discipline shows when questions are asked and people can't answer. Simple questions. The discipline the lack of discipline is shown when people keep going into these tribunals without letting their paperwork proceed. Now we know that we shouldn't be in them because they're not lawful, but sometimes we gotta go because you got to stand in front of this man and shut him down. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not. But that's why you let the paperwork proceed. You want to win the war without actually having to physically fight. But with the lack of discipline, you're not going to win the war. Ain't going to kill you to actually sit down and do some research and do some studying and absorb some of this stuff. I'm going to sit here and tell y'all right now, I did all of this morning. I've been sitting around for 3 weeks figuring what I was going to do, knowing that I wanted to talk about the art of war, knowing I wanted to talk about Yacub for 3 weeks. And I sat there this morning and did it. Listen, I got up this morning and put it together. And now I'm standing here in front of you. Discipline. Discipline. Stop talking about the children with lack of discipline. And stop pointing fingers at the babies. Point your finger in your own chest and talk about your lack of discipline. Discipline is organization, chain of command, and logistics. At the bottom it says Tao. Tao is a noun. Tao, Tao. Etymological brackets. The absolute principle underlying the universe, combining within itself the principles of yin and yang, and signifying a way or code of behavior that is in harmony with natural order. Tao is in each one of you. I know when you see Tao, when you see Zen, when you see all of that stuff, you think about Chinese people. When you see that stuff, think about you. Embrace it, absorb it, live it. Am I saying you gotta walk around all light-footed with a robe on and stuff? No. No. But these are your ancient principles. Anything that talks about universal principles is yours. You gave it to them, they borrowed it. Take it back. Abdullah was sitting back there. Abdullah will tell you in a heartbeat, I ain't giving European nothing. He would tell you in a heartbeat, I ain't giving the European nothing. We laughed on the way to DC one day, said, nothing in creation belongs to the European. And then we laughed and said, except death, destruction, mayhem. Because that's what he causes where he goes, because the experiment tells you they got unruly, they got out of control. They're going to be unruly, they're going to be out of control. And how do you deal with somebody like that? I'll think. My message to you today is start to think before you move. Start to think before you move. And you'll see your actions will be a whole lot different. Islam.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments? Anything?
No more, I think we're all right.
All right. All right, Islam. Next class will be September 19th. The next class after that will be October 10th. But I need to just get a bit of information from y'all. Excuse me. That same day is the same day that Louis Farrakhan won. She grooming me, yo. October 10th is the same day that Louis Farrakhan will be in D.C. So I don't know if any of y'all plan on going, but on that date, we planning on having family from Forgotten Foods here. We scheduled that with them a while back. The family who came last year did tonic tasting. Y'all forgot?
Yeah.
No.
You haven't forgot. All right, so the family from Forgotten Foods, they put together herbal tonics, healing tonics, and I can say for myself. So yeah, cell food, regenerating cells, and all of that type of stuff. They own along the same line as Sadie, just not as expensive as Sadie. And they're reachable. You know, you can actually reach out and touch them. They'll be here live and in person. They'll bring all whole ton of their herbs and their tonics. Just sit right here on the table and we'll pass them out for you to taste them and test them. I put the website on the board so y'all can go check them out and see what they got on there. And like I said, you can reach out to them. You can call and talk to them. They'll give you whatever information you need. And they'll be here October 10th. That's the same day that Farrakhan will be here, so they were a bit concerned about that because, you know, of course they want people to be here because they're trying to promote their product, and of course they want to get it sold. Is it good? So it's www.theforgottenfoods.com. You go to the website, check it out, check out the tonics, check out the herbs. And like I said, you can call them up. Opportunity School, Mama Kai School. And they also got people working at the facility who can also talk to you about the herbs and everything they got. I just want to reiterate again. That's October 10th. Lodge conference is the weekend before. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, just let me know. If y'all planning on going to see Farrakhan and listen to his bull, let me know and we can postpone it. But if not, the next class here will be September 19th. And the next class after that will be October 10th.
Islam.
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 All right. Islam. Peace and love. I'll see you on the 19th.
Islam. Peace and love.